Reinvention, a word often thrown around, echoing promises of a brighter future and a better you. Yet how many truly understand its depth? How many genuinely embark on this transformative journey? As we stand on the precipice of 2024, it's time for a profound awakening. Welcome to a complete guide to reinvent yourself in 2024. Imagine a life where external judgments don't sway you, where the societal cacophony fades into insignificance. Our first exploration is about the art of not caring. It's not about apathy, but liberation, where you become the epicenter of your universe, unfazed by external turbulence. In this world, happiness isn't pursued, it's an ever-present state, waiting to be realized. But to genuinely not care about the external, one must turn the gaze inwards. Here, we delve into the art of selfishness. Before you recoil at the term selfish, consider this. Can you genuinely love others if you haven't embraced yourself? Discover why selfishness and self-love aren't just key to a good life, they're the foundation. Now, with a reinforced sense of self, we touch upon one of the most profound quests of humanity, creating your own purpose. In a world replete with chaos, anchoring oneself to a purpose can illuminate the path. It's not about finding meaning but creating it, forging a life so rich that every breath becomes a testament to your essence. We then culminate our journey with Stoicism, an ancient philosophy, yet remarkably pertinent. Understand the Stoics' perspective on the good life, a life not measured by material success but by virtue, wisdom, and tranquility. A life where adversity doesn't break you, but shapes you. As you stand on the threshold of a new year, remember, reinvention isn't about altering your external self but about redefining your core. It's about unearthing the gems hidden within, realigning with your true nature, and then radiating that essence outwards. 2024 beckons, promising a fresh slate, a new chapter. The question isn't whether you should reinvent yourself, it's whether you're ready to meet the best version of you. Dive in, and let's journey together toward unparalleled growth, wisdom, and enlightenment. Have you ever felt weighed down by the expectations of society or been caught up in a whirlwind of worries about things beyond your control? If the answer is yes, then you're not alone. Many of us spend our lives caught in the trap of caring too much about things that, at the end of the day, might not matter as much as we think they do. But what if there were a way to break free from this cycle? A way to navigate life with more serenity and a clear mind? Today, we're diving deep into an exploration of a philosophical approach that might just hold the key to a happier, more fulfilling life. This approach, the art of not caring, is not about apathy or disregard for others, but rather, it's about focusing our care and attention where it truly matters, on things within our control, and letting go of the rest. In this video, we'll journey through the wisdom of various philosophies and philosophers who have walked this path before us and left guideposts for us to follow. From the tranquil mindfulness of Buddhist philosophy to the empowering self-sufficiency of Stoicism, from the hedonic calculus of Epictetus to the existential courage of Soren Kierkegaard, and from the life-affirming tenets of Nietzsche to the individualistic essence of existentialism. This exploration isn't just academic. We'll also discuss real-world applications and examples. We'll look at how these philosophies have been applied by individuals in the real world, and how not caring in the right way can lead to more happiness, less anxiety, and an overall more fulfilling life. But what exactly do we mean by not caring? In the philosophical sense, not caring doesn't mean complete detachment or lack of concern. It means liberating ourselves from the societal pressures, the fears of the unknown, the worries about what we can't control, and the anxiety over others' judgments. The art of not caring encourages us to focus our energy on our actions, our responses, and our attitudes, rather than expending mental and emotional energy on things outside our realm of control. It's about recognizing our boundaries and deciding what truly warrants our care, our effort, and our passion. It's about learning to embrace uncertainty, accept the impermanence of life, and still live joyfully in the present moment. If you've ever felt like you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders, if you've ever wished you could let go of anxieties that hold you back, or if you're just curious about different philosophical perspectives on happiness, you're in the right place. By the end of this journey, we hope you'll be armed with a new perspective on how to navigate life's ups and downs with grace, equanimity, and an untroubled mind. Stay with us as we unveil the liberating world of the art of not caring. It's time to venture on a philosophical journey of self-discovery and learn the art of letting go to live a happier, more fulfilling life. As we embark on this exploration, it's important to first set the stage by delving into the intrinsic link between philosophy and happiness. What role does philosophy play in defining and understanding happiness? Philosophy in its essence is the love of wisdom. It's an exploration of fundamental questions about existence, reality, knowledge, values, reason, and crucially for our discussion today, happiness. Philosophers across ages and cultures have grappled with the question of what happiness is and how it can be achieved. From ancient Greek philosophers to modern-day thinkers, the quest for understanding happiness has always been at the heart of philosophical inquiry. Happiness is a concept that, on the surface, appears simple and universal. But once you dig deeper, it reveals a multidimensional nature that is deeply subjective and complex. Our understanding of happiness is usually tied to our personal experiences, cultural background, and societal expectations. However, when we shift our focus from a personal lens to the broad vista of philosophy, the meaning of happiness expands and deepens. So, how do different philosophical perspectives view happiness? Let's start with the ancient Greeks. For Aristotle, one of the most influential philosophers of all time, happiness wasn't a fleeting emotion or a state of momentary joy. He proposed the concept of eudaimonia, often translated as flourishing or the good life. For Aristotle, happiness was about living a life of virtue and wisdom, fulfilling one's potential, and contributing to society. It wasn't about chasing pleasure, but about cultivating a rich inner life. In contrast, the philosopher Epictetus viewed happiness as the pursuit of pleasure and the avoidance of pain. However, Epicurean philosophy doesn't advocate hedonistic indulgence. Epicurus emphasized the simple, natural pleasures in life like friendship, intellectual pursuits, and peace of mind. Fast forward to the 17th and 18th centuries during the Age of Enlightenment, and we encounter utilitarian philosophers like Jeremy Bentham and John Stuart Mill. They proposed that happiness is about maximizing pleasure for the greatest number of people, forming the basis of their moral and ethical guidelines. In the 19th century, Arthur Schopenhauer, a German philosopher, offered a less optimistic view. He believed that life is filled with suffering and happiness is merely the absence of this suffering. Schopenhauer's philosophy advocates for reducing desires to minimize disappointment and pain, giving a different spin on our understanding of happiness. Then we have the existentialists of the 20th century like Jean-Paul Sartre and Albert Camus, who believed that life inherently has no meaning, and it's up to each individual to create their own purpose and define their own happiness. They rejected societal norms and encouraged authenticity and personal freedom. And we can't forget the Eastern philosophical traditions like Buddhism, which teaches that happiness is achieved through the elimination of desire and attachment, leading to a state of inner peace and enlightenment. What's evident from these various philosophical perspectives is that happiness isn't a one-size-fits-all concept. It is deeply personal and intricately woven with our values, choices, and understanding of the world. Different philosophies offer different pathways to happiness, whether it's through virtue, pleasure, the absence of pain, personal freedom, or spiritual enlightenment. In today's exploration of the art of not caring, we will see how letting go of certain cares aligns with these diverse philosophical perspectives on happiness. It's about finding a balanced and thoughtful approach to what we choose to care about, ultimately leading us towards a fulfilling and content life. It's crucial to remember that philosophy doesn't provide ready-made answers, but guides us in asking the right questions. As we delve deeper into the art of not caring, let's keep an open mind, challenge our preconceptions, and allow these diverse philosophical teachings to enlighten our understanding of happiness. Let's set forth on this intriguing journey, drawing lessons from famous philosophers and their profound insights into happiness. Now let's turn our attention to Stoicism, an ancient Greek philosophy that has regained popularity in recent years for its profound wisdom and practical insights into living a good life. Stoicism was founded in Athens by Zeno of Citium in the early 3rd century BC, but it was the later Stoic philosophers like Epictetus, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius whose teachings have stood the test of time and continue to resonate with us today. Stoicism is a philosophy of personal ethics that emphasizes virtue, reason, and self-discipline. It teaches that we can't control everything that happens to us, but we can control how we respond. Stoicism encourages us to focus on what's within our power and let go of what's not, providing a powerful framework for the art of not caring. This brings us to the Stoic concept of the dichotomy of control. Epictetus, a former slave-turned philosopher, articulated this principle eloquently in his Enchiridion, or handbook. He wrote, "Some things are within our power while others are not. Within our power are opinion, motivation, desire, aversion, and in a word, whatever is of our own doing. Not within our power are our body, our property, reputation, office, and, in a word, whatever is not of our own doing." This profound dichotomy reminds us to invest our time, energy, and emotions in areas of our life we can control, and practice indifference or not caring about the rest. This is not an encouragement towards passivity or neglect of responsibilities. Instead, it invites us to discern the things that are truly significant and worthy of our attention and care. It's about choosing not to be disturbed by life's uncontrollables, hence preserving our peace of mind and aligning ourselves with the natural order of the universe, a core Stoic principle. Stoicism's embodiment of the art of not caring can be seen in Marcus Aurelius's Meditations. As a Roman emperor, Marcus Aurelius had an abundance of power and influence, yet his writings reflect an understanding of the fleeting nature of these external goods. He wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." He often emphasized the importance of inner peace and tranquility over external achievements or recognition, embodying the Stoic art of not caring about things outside our control. Seneca, another influential Stoic philosopher, further exemplifies this principle in his letters. He taught that we should remain indifferent to external circumstances, not allowing ourselves to be excessively disturbed by adversity or overly excited by prosperity. In one of his letters he wrote, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future, not to amuse ourselves with either hopes or fears, but to rest satisfied with what we have, which is sufficient, for he that is so wants nothing." By practicing Stoic principles, we learn to not care about the ever-changing circumstances of our lives, and instead focus on cultivating our character, wisdom, and virtue. We learn to be content with what we have, undisturbed by external happenings, and at peace with the world. The art of not caring in the Stoic sense is not about being indifferent to everything. It's about knowing where to best direct our care and attention for a fulfilling and tranquil life. Now, we move from the Stoic school of thought to the garden of Epicurus. Epicurus, an ancient Greek philosopher who founded the school of philosophy known as Epicureanism, offers another perspective on the art of not caring. Contrary to common misconceptions, Epicureanism isn't about indulging in physical pleasures or leading a life of luxury. Instead, it's about understanding the nature of pleasure and desire and leading a life of tranquility, freedom, and friendship. Epicurus taught that pleasure is the highest good and the end goal of life, but he also emphasized that not all pleasures are worth pursuing. He differentiated between kinetic pleasures, which arise from satisfying a desire, and katastematic pleasures, which are the peaceful state of contentment when we are free from pain and desire. According to Epicurus, the best life is one where we can maintain a state of katastematic pleasure, enjoying the simple joys of life without being constantly driven by desires. A significant aspect of Epicureanism, related to the art of not caring, is its stance on societal expectations and material desires. Epicurus advocated for a simple life, away from the hustle and bustle of Athenian society. He believed that many of our desires, such as the desire for wealth, fame, or power, are instilled in us by societal expectations and are neither natural nor necessary. These desires, according to Epicurus, often lead to more pain than pleasure, as they are insatiable, and keep us in a constant state of want. Epicurus famously wrote, "If thou wilt make a man happy, add not unto his riches, but take away from his desires." This insightful perspective encourages us to not care about the pursuit of material wealth or societal status, and instead focus on cultivating inner tranquility and fostering meaningful relationships. Another fascinating teaching from Epicurus is his view on fear, particularly the fear of death. He argued that death is nothing to us, as when we exist, death is not, and when death exists, we are not. By dispelling the fear of death, Epicurus encourages us to not care about this inevitable aspect of life, allowing us to live more freely and joyfully in the present moment. So, how can these principles lead to a happier life? By understanding the nature of our desires, distinguishing between necessary and unnecessary ones, and learning to manage them effectively, we can achieve a state of contentment and inner peace. By choosing not to care about societal expectations or the fear of death, we liberate ourselves from unnecessary worries and anxieties, creating room for true joy and tranquility. Through Epicureanism, we learn that happiness doesn't come from external possessions or status, but from an inner state of peace, free from pain and turmoil. This philosophy teaches us to celebrate the simple pleasures of life, friendship, thought, and freedom from fear and desire, giving us a valuable perspective on the art of not caring. The Epicurean way of life invites us to rethink our values and desires, to let go of societal expectations and needless worries, and to embrace the simple and enduring pleasures of life. As we further our journey, let's carry these insights from Epicurus with us. Let's appreciate the role of pleasure and desire in our lives, and learn to care less about things that don't contribute to our lasting happiness. As we continue this philosophical exploration of the art of not caring, we journey next to the 19th century Denmark and meet Søren Kierkegaard, widely recognized as the father of existentialism. Kierkegaard, unlike the philosophers we've discussed so far, lived in a completely different era and cultural context. Kierkegaard's existential philosophy focuses on the individual, their emotions, freedom, choice, and subjective existence. He believed that truth is subjective and that each individual must navigate the complexities of life independently. His writings present a deep dive into human psychology, exploring themes of anxiety, despair, and the quest for meaning. One of Kierkegaard's most famous concepts is the leap of faith. In the face of life's uncertainties and paradoxes, Kierkegaard proposed that one must make a leap of faith into the religious life to find purpose and overcome despair. Now, while the leap of faith has religious connotations, especially in Kierkegaard's writings, the underlying concept extends beyond the religious sphere. It's about embracing uncertainty, about having the courage to make decisions without full knowledge of what the outcome might be. So much of our daily stress and anxiety stems from uncertainty. We fret about the future, worry about the unpredictable, and struggle to make decisions when we can't foresee the consequences. But what if we choose to not care about this uncertainty? What if we take that leap of faith, accept the uncertainty, and make our choices with conviction and courage? Kierkegaard wrote, "Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards." In the context of our discussion, this quote is a reminder that while we can reflect on our past experiences to gain understanding and wisdom, we can't predict or control the future. Thus, choosing to not care about future uncertainties doesn't mean being reckless or indifferent to outcomes. Instead, it's about freeing ourselves from the paralyzing fear of the unknown, allowing us to live fully in the present and act according to our values and beliefs. Embracing Kierkegaard's leap of faith could lead us to greater happiness by liberating us from the burdens of anxiety and fear. When we stop caring excessively about the uncertainties, we can focus our energy on the present moment and on the actions that align with our values. By doing so, we give ourselves the freedom to lead an authentic life, one where we are not constantly overwhelmed by what might happen in the future. Kierkegaard's existential philosophy invites us to reflect deeply on our individual existence, our anxieties, and our freedom. His concept of the leap of faith provides us with a strategy to deal with life's uncertainties, not by attempting to predict or control the future, but by courageously embracing these uncertainties and focusing on our authentic self. Let's leap bravely into the uncertainties of life, caring less about what we can't control and more about living authentically and fully in the present. From the bustling streets of 19th century Denmark, our philosophical journey takes us east to ancient India, where Siddhartha Gautama, known as the Buddha, introduced a profound philosophy and path to spiritual enlightenment, Buddhism. Buddhism, a non-theistic tradition, offers a unique perspective on happiness, suffering, detachment, and the art of not caring about the transient and impermanent. Buddhism defines happiness differently than many Western philosophies. Instead of equating happiness with pleasure or the satisfaction of desires, Buddhism views true happiness as a deep, enduring state of well-being and contentment that arises from inner peace and wisdom. This happiness is independent of external circumstances and is accessible to everyone through mindfulness, ethical conduct, and understanding the nature of reality. Central to Buddhism is the Four Noble Truths, which outline the nature of suffering, its cause, its cessation, and the path leading to its cessation. The Buddha taught that suffering arises from tanha, or craving, an insatiable thirst for something other or more than what is. This craving is born from our ignorance of the true nature of reality, characterized by impermanence, dissatisfaction, and non-self. This brings us to the Buddhist principles of detachment and non-attachment, which are pivotal to understanding the art of not caring from a Buddhist perspective. Detachment in Buddhism does not mean indifference or avoidance of life's experiences. Instead, it's a deep understanding and acceptance of the impermanent nature of all phenomena. It's about not clinging to people, things, experiences, or even ideas, knowing that they are subject to change and dissolution. Non-attachment goes hand in hand with detachment. It is a state of freedom from the compulsive need to hold on to things, experiences, or ideas. When we practice non-attachment, we fully engage with life as it unfolds, experiencing joy, sadness, pleasure, and pain without being enslaved by these transient feelings. We learn to care deeply about life while not being bound by it. By not caring about impermanent things, we are not rejecting or devaluing them. Instead, we are learning to relate to them in a healthier way, experiencing them fully, appreciating them while they last, but not suffering when they change or vanish. This perspective, when applied to life, can lead to a profound inner peace and happiness. It helps us to enjoy the beauty of life's changing seasons without being swept away by the storms of craving, aversion, or delusion. The Buddha said, you only lose what you cling to. This simple yet profound statement encapsulates the essence of Buddhist detachment and non-attachment. It invites us to let go, to stop caring excessively about that which is inherently transient and ungraspable. In doing so, we free ourselves from much of the self-inflicted suffering and open the door to a deeper, more enduring form of happiness. Buddhism, with its profound insights into the nature of reality and the human mind, offers valuable guidance on the art of not caring. By understanding and practicing the principles of detachment and non-attachment, we can learn to navigate life with greater peace, clarity, and freedom. As we continue our exploration, let us remember the Buddha's wisdom. Let us remember that everything is subject to change, and that by not clinging to transient things, we can attain a state of inner peace and enduring happiness. After all, isn't that what we're all striving for? Our philosophical exploration now leads us back to Europe, this time to Germany in the late 19th century, where we meet one of the most influential and controversial philosophers, Friedrich Nietzsche. Known for his critiques of traditional morality and his philosophy of life affirmation, Nietzsche provides us with a powerful lens through which to view the art of not caring. At the heart of Nietzsche's philosophy is the concept of life affirmation, which he believed to be the highest state of being human. To affirm life, according to Nietzsche, is to embrace existence as it is, with all its contradictions, uncertainties, and challenges. It's about saying yes to life, not in a passive or resigned way, but with a sense of joy, curiosity, and creativity. This philosophy of life affirmation ties in closely with Nietzsche's views on societal norms and the art of not caring. Nietzsche believed that societal norms and traditional morality often hinder individuals from living fully and authentically. He criticized herd morality, the notion that good and bad are universally applicable to everyone. For Nietzsche, not caring about societal norms and traditional morality isn't about becoming indifferent or apathetic. Rather, it's about self-overcoming, a process through which individuals transcend their conditioned behaviors and beliefs to create their values. When we stop caring about societal expectations, we can begin to question, critique, and eventually overcome these imposed values. This allows us to become the authors of our moral code, defining what is meaningful, worthwhile, and fulfilling for us. Here, we encounter the concept of the Übermensch, often translated as the Overman or Superman. This concept represents Nietzsche's ideal individual who has successfully overcome themselves, creating their values and affirming life in all its complexity. The Übermensch embodies the principle of not caring about conventional morality, choosing instead to embrace life with all its chaos and uncertainty and to create their moral framework. Nietzsche wrote in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, "I teach you the overman. Man is something that shall be overcome. What have you done to overcome him?" These powerful words are a call to action. They challenge us to question, to strive, to create. They remind us of our capacity for self-overcoming, our potential to become who we truly are. So what does Nietzsche's philosophy offer in our quest to master the art of not caring? It invites us to reevaluate our relationship with societal norms and traditional morality. It encourages us not to care about these external expectations in a way that stifles our individuality, but instead to create our values and affirm life as it is. As we move forward in our exploration, let's remember Nietzsche's powerful ideas. Let's strive for self-overcoming, dare to create our values, and learn to affirm life in all its complexity. As we continue our philosophical journey, we now find ourselves immersed in the 20th century, in a world still grappling with the aftermath of 2 world wars, a world in which existentialism was born. This philosophical movement, characterized by its emphasis on individuality, freedom, and personal responsibility, offers a fresh perspective on living a happy and fulfilled life. Existentialism, with roots in the works of Søren Kierkegaard and Friedrich Nietzsche, came into its own with philosophers like Jean-Paul Sartre and Albert Camus. Rejecting traditional philosophical categories, existentialism focuses on the individual, the concrete human being, as it grapples with anxiety, freedom, authenticity, and the absurd. At the heart of existentialism is the belief in the primacy of individual existence. As Sartre famously said, existence precedes essence, meaning that we first exist, and it's through our actions, choices, and experiences that we define who we are. This freedom to create ourselves is both empowering and daunting. It places the responsibility for our lives squarely on our shoulders, making us the authors of our destiny. Closely tied to this emphasis on individual freedom is the existentialist view on the absurdity of life. As articulated by Albert Camus in his works, life is inherently devoid of meaning, purpose, or order. It is absurd. This realization can lead to despair, or it can liberate us. By not caring about the absurdity, by accepting it, we are freed from the futile search for external meaning or validation. Instead, we can focus on creating our meaning, carving out our path in the face of the absurd. This theme is beautifully explored in Camus' myth of Sisyphus. Sisyphus, condemned to eternally roll a boulder up a hill only to have it roll back down, embodies the human condition in the face of the absurd. But as Camus suggests, we must imagine Sisyphus happy. By not caring about the futility of his task, Sisyphus can find joy and meaning in the process itself, in his struggle and persistence. So, what do existentialist philosophers like Sartre and Camus offer us in our exploration? They remind us that we are free to choose, to act, to create our essence. They teach us that life is absurd, and by not caring about this absurdity, we can liberate ourselves from external validation and create our meaning. They urge us to embrace our freedom, to take responsibility for our lives, and to carve out our path in the face of the absurd. As we've journeyed through the rich tapestry of philosophy, from Stoicism to Buddhism, from Nietzsche to Sartre and Camus, we've delved deep into the theoretical realms of the art of not caring. Now let's translate this theoretical wisdom into concrete action. How can we apply these philosophical lessons in our day-to-day lives? What are some practical steps we can take? First and foremost, we need to identify the things that we truly care about. Reflect on the Stoic principle of the dichotomy of control. Separate the things in your life into those you can control and those you can't. The key is to focus our energies on what we can control, our thoughts, emotions, and actions, and learn to let go of the things outside our control. This simple act can drastically reduce unnecessary stress and anxiety, creating space for more joy, freedom, and fulfillment. This leads to our second point, embracing uncertainty. As Kierkegaard taught us, life is filled with uncertainties, and attempting to control or predict everything is not only futile, but can also lead to discontentment. By embracing uncertainty, by making that leap of faith, we can free ourselves from the fear and anxiety associated with the unknown. We start to see uncertainty as an opportunity for growth and transformation. The third step involves confronting societal expectations. As we learned from Epictetus, Nietzsche, and existentialism, societal norms and expectations can often hinder our authenticity and happiness. Reflect on these pressures in your own life. Do they align with your values and desires, or are they stifling your individuality? Not caring about these societal expectations doesn't mean neglecting your responsibilities or becoming indifferent. Instead, it's about reclaiming your freedom to choose your path, to define your values, to create your essence. The fourth step invites us to sit with the absurdity of life. Drawing on the wisdom of Camus, we can acknowledge the inherent absurdity and embrace it. Instead of searching for external meaning or validation, focus on creating your meaning. This could be through your relationships, your passions, your work, or your personal growth. Find joy in the process, in your Sisyphean struggle. While these steps can guide us in our journey, applying these steps is not without its challenges. It's a lifelong journey, one that requires patience, courage, and self-compassion. There might be moments of doubt, fear, or confusion. Remember that it's okay to feel these emotions. They are part of the human experience. Instead of resisting them, acknowledge them, learn from them, and let them guide you on your path. Now, you might be wondering, how can I put these ideas into practice right now? Well, mindfulness can be a powerful tool in this journey. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present, of paying attention to the here and now without judgment. It allows us to observe our thoughts, emotions, and sensations as they are without getting caught up in them. Try this simple mindfulness technique. Take a few moments each day to sit in silence. Focus on your breath, on the sensation of the air entering and leaving your body. If your mind starts to wander, gently bring it back to your breath. This practice can help you cultivate a sense of presence, acceptance, and non-attachment, key elements in the art of not caring. Remember, not caring isn't about indifference or neglect. It's about discerning what truly matters, about embracing life with all its uncertainties and absurdities, about creating our essence in the face of societal expectations. It's a journey, not a destination, one that requires courage, self-compassion, and a willingness to embrace the fullness of our human experience. As we arrive at the end of this exploration of the art of not caring, it's time to pause, reflect, and perhaps set the stage for what's next. We have embarked on a fascinating journey through time, from the Stoic sages of ancient Rome to the existentialist thinkers of the 20th century, exploring how these philosophical schools have approached the concept of not caring. We've explored the Stoic principle of the dichotomy of control, learning that the path to tranquility and happiness lies in discerning what we can control from what we can't, and focusing our care and energy on the former. We delved into Epicurean philosophy, drawing insights from Epictetus' teachings on pleasure, desire, and the importance of not caring about societal expectations. We took a leap of faith with Kierkegaard, embracing the inherent uncertainties of life and understanding how not caring about certain outcomes can lead to a happier existence. We delved into the depths of Eastern philosophy, understanding how Buddhism's principles of detachment and non-attachment can help us let go of impermanent things, thereby leading to inner peace and happiness. Nietzsche pushed us to question societal norms, and through his life-affirming philosophy, taught us about the power of not caring about conforming to these norms in our journey towards self-overcoming. The existentialist philosophers, particularly Sartre and Camus, emphasized the absurdity of life and encouraged us to take responsibility for our own existence, reiterating how not caring about this inherent absurdity can lead to personal freedom. In the final section, we discussed how to apply these philosophical principles in daily life. We examined ways to identify what truly matters to us, how to embrace uncertainty, confront societal expectations, and sit with the absurdity of life. We also covered some potential challenges along the way and discussed a simple mindfulness technique to cultivate presence, acceptance, and non-attachment. However, this exploration is merely the beginning of your journey. The art of not caring is not a destination, but a lifelong practice, a path to follow. It requires patience, courage, and self-compassion. As you continue your exploration, remember to apply these philosophical insights to your own life, to discern what truly matters to you, and to not care about what doesn't serve your highest good. In the grand scheme of life, it's the lessons we learn, the insights we gain, and the people we touch that matter the most. So go forth and explore the art of not caring in your life. See what shifts it brings, what freedom it offers, what happiness it leads to. Remember, the journey towards not caring isn't about becoming indifferent or neglectful. It's about embracing your authenticity, reclaiming your freedom, and carving your path. It's about creating your essence in the face of societal expectations, uncertainties, and the inherent absurdity of life. Have you ever found yourself feeling guilty for taking a day off, indulging in your favorite food, or spending a little extra time taking care of yourself? Or perhaps you've been made to feel selfish for putting your needs first. Well, it's time to unpack these feelings and explore the fascinating intersection of self-love and what some might call selfishness. In this video, we'll dive deep into the minds of some of the most influential philosophers and psychologists from across the ages, thinkers who have dared to challenge the status quo and shed new light on the profound role self-love and selfishness play in our lives. We'll explore the revolutionary ideas of Friedrich Nietzsche, Carl Rogers, Abraham Maslow, Aristotle, Ayn Rand, Jean-Paul Sartre, Buddha, and Erich Fromm. We'll uncover the hidden wisdom in their teachings and apply their insights to our own lives. The world around us constantly sends us mixed signals about self-love and selfishness. On the one hand, we're encouraged to be selfless and considerate, to put others before ourselves. On the other hand, we're told that it's okay to love ourselves, that we should prioritize our own needs. These conflicting messages can leave us feeling confused and guilty, unsure about how to strike the right balance. And that's where the importance of today's topic comes into play, both in our personal and professional lives. By developing a better understanding of self-love and selfishness, we can lead healthier, more balanced lives. We can learn to set boundaries, to make time for ourselves, and to appreciate who we are, with all our strengths and weaknesses. And we can do this without feeling guilty or being perceived as selfish. Personally, I used to struggle with these very concepts. There were times when I would deprive myself of rest, fun, and even health, just to avoid being seen as selfish. I would bend over backwards to accommodate others, often at the expense of my own well-being. It wasn't until I started studying philosophy and psychology that I began to realize the value of self-love and the necessity of a certain type of selfishness. These insights didn't just transform my personal life, they also had a profound impact on my professional life, leading to greater satisfaction and success. So, whether you're here out of curiosity in search of personal growth, or to gain insights that can boost your professional success, I believe this series has something valuable to offer you. Together, we'll challenge popular misconceptions, explore new perspectives, and embark on a journey towards a better understanding of ourselves and our place in the world. When we talk about self-love, we're not simply talking about pampering yourself with a spa day or treating yourself to a fancy meal. Though these acts can certainly be part of it, rather, self-love is a much deeper and more profound concept. It's about accepting ourselves in our entirety, with all our virtues, flaws, and everything in between. It's about acknowledging our intrinsic worth and treating ourselves with kindness and respect. Self-love is not about perfection. It's about acceptance. It's about understanding that we are works in progress and that it's okay to make mistakes. It's about giving ourselves the same compassion, understanding, and patience that we often extend to others. Self-love is not vanity or arrogance. It's about recognizing our humanity, our unique blend of strengths and weaknesses, and valuing ourselves for who we are. Self-love also involves taking care of our physical, emotional, and mental well-being. It's about making time for self-care, setting boundaries, pursuing our interests, and prioritizing our needs. It's about nourishing our bodies, stimulating our minds, and nurturing our souls. So, how does this connect with selfishness? This brings us to our next term. The term selfishness often carries negative connotations. It's typically used to describe someone who puts their interests above those of others, often to the point of causing harm or neglecting the needs of others. However, as with many concepts, there's more than one side to this story. In the context of our discussion, when we refer to selfishness, we're not talking about this harmful, neglectful behavior. Instead, we're referring to a healthier, more constructive form of selfishness, one that involves asserting our needs and making decisions that benefit our well-being, even if they may not always align with the expectations of others. This is the kind of selfishness that allows us to say no when we're overburdened, to pursue our passions even if they don't align with societal norms, and to prioritize self-care even when it may seem indulgent. It's the kind of selfishness that respects the needs of others, but acknowledges that we too have needs that are equally important. The relationship between self-love and selfishness might seem a bit complicated, but the two are closely intertwined. You see, in order to truly love ourselves, we must be somewhat selfish. We must be willing to prioritize our needs, to set boundaries, and to make choices that foster our well-being and happiness. And to be constructively selfish, we must first recognize our inherent worth, which in turn requires self-love. In essence, self-love and a healthy level of selfishness go hand in hand. They are two sides of the same coin, both crucial for our personal growth and well-being. This dynamic interplay between self-love and selfishness is what allows us to navigate life with resilience, confidence, and inner peace. But how did such concepts emerge? How have they evolved over time? And how do they fit into the grand tapestry of philosophical and psychological thought? As we journey through this video, we'll delve into these questions and more, exploring the fascinating perspectives of various philosophers and psychologists and uncovering the profound insights they offer. Remember, the goal here is not to encourage selfishness in the negative sense, disregarding others and causing harm. Instead, we hope to illuminate the path to a balanced, healthy sense of self, where you can assert your needs, value your worth, and still respect and care for those around you. We've now begun to delve into the depths of self-love and healthy selfishness, two concepts that are not only intricately connected, but also play pivotal roles in our mental health, personal growth, and overall well-being. Understanding why self-love is crucial to mental health takes us into the realm of neuroscience, psychology, and human behavior. For decades, psychologists and researchers have pointed out the direct link between the way we perceive ourselves and the state of our mental health. Let's visualize our minds as gardens. Now, a garden filled with love, positivity, and care is likely to flourish, right? Similarly, when our minds are imbued with self-love, they too can flourish. Self-love acts like a natural defense mechanism against the thorns of self-doubt, self-criticism, and negative self-talk, elements that can poison our mental garden, leading to anxiety, depression, and other mental health issues. When we practice self-love, we validate our own emotions and experiences. We tell ourselves that it's okay to feel the way we do, that our feelings are important. This validation can prevent emotional repression, a factor often linked with psychological distress. Self-love also equips us with the confidence to face life's challenges head-on. Instead of crumbling under pressure or succumbing to stress, we can stand tall, secure in the knowledge that we are capable and deserving of overcoming these hurdles. This resilience is fundamental for maintaining mental health and coping with life's ups and downs. But how does healthy selfishness fit into this picture? Well, if self-love is the soil in which our mental garden thrives, then healthy selfishness is the act of tending to that garden, ensuring it gets the nourishment it needs. Healthy selfishness is about acknowledging our needs and taking steps to meet them. It's about carving out time for ourselves amidst our busy schedules, prioritizing our well-being, and not being afraid to set boundaries. This act of placing importance on our needs encourages personal growth by allowing us to understand ourselves better, hone our skills, and pursue our interests. Moreover, it's through healthy selfishness that we learn the value of saying no, overcommitting, people-pleasing, and overextending ourselves. These are traps that many of us fall into, often at the cost of our own mental and emotional well-being. Learning to say no to things that drain us is an act of healthy selfishness, a crucial step in personal growth. When we combine self-love and healthy selfishness, they form a potent synergy that paves the way for a balanced, content, and fulfilling life. They allow us to maintain mental harmony, grow as individuals, and navigate life's journey with self-assuredness and resilience. By loving ourselves, we lay the foundation of our mental garden, making it fertile ground for positive thoughts, self-esteem, and resilience. With healthy selfishness, we nurture this garden, ensuring it gets the care, attention, and nourishment it needs to flourish. Together, these concepts guide us towards a life where we can stand tall, not swayed by the winds of external validation or approval, but firmly rooted in self-love and self-appreciation. They lead us to a place where we can strike a balance, honoring our own needs while respecting those of others. As we journey on, we'll continue to unearth the wisdom embedded in these concepts, guided by the profound insights of philosophers and psychologists who have illuminated the path to self-love and healthy selfishness. In their teachings, we will discover not just theoretical knowledge, but practical, applicable wisdom that can transform our lives. So let's step forward on this path, curious, open, and ready to learn. Our first stop, the influential psychologist Carl Rogers. Known as one of the founding figures of humanistic psychology, Rogers' theories have left an indelible mark on the field. Let's delve into his world and uncover his perspective on self-love. Carl Rogers, born in 1902, was a pioneer in his field. His focus on individual human experience and self-actualization was transformative and challenged the dominant psychoanalytic and behaviorist perspectives of his time. Rogers' approach was person-centered, emphasizing the innate goodness and potential for growth in every individual. His work, rich in compassion and empathy, has left a lasting legacy in psychology, counseling, and psychotherapy. Rogers believed that for a person to achieve a state of self-actualization, the highest level of psychological development, where one realizes their full potential, they need to experience unconditional positive regard. This term, coined by Rogers himself, refers to the total acceptance and love of oneself, regardless of behavior or circumstances. It is the very embodiment of self-love in Rogers' humanistic psychology. The key element here is unconditional. Rogers stressed that self-love should not hinge on conditions of worth. It should not depend on achievements, approval from others, or conforming to societal norms. Instead, he advocated for self-love that exists independently of these external factors, grounded in the understanding and acceptance of one's own unique intrinsic value. According to Rogers, self-love is not an act of vanity or arrogance. It's not about believing that you're better than others. Rather, it's about acknowledging your self-worth, being open to your own experiences and trusting in your own perceptions and feelings. Rogers believed that this unconditional self-love is fundamental for personal growth and self-actualization. When we love ourselves unconditionally, we create a safe space for exploration and self-understanding. We allow ourselves to make mistakes and learn from them, fostering personal growth. We also cultivate an internal locus of evaluation, wherein we trust our own judgments and don't rely solely on the opinions of others for validation. From Rogers' perspective, self-love also involves embracing our potential for change and growth. It's about recognizing that we are not static beings, but rather, we are continually evolving. Self-love, in this sense, means not only accepting who we are in the present moment, but also embracing who we can become. Moreover, Rogers' therapeutic approach was rooted in the belief that a therapist's role was to provide an environment of unconditional positive regard, empathy, and genuineness to foster self-love and growth in their clients. He proposed that when individuals are exposed to such an environment, they naturally move toward greater self-understanding, self-acceptance, and self-actualization. This illustrates Rogers' belief in the transformative power of self-love. Rogers' perspective on self-love not only revolutionized therapeutic practices, but also deeply resonates with our discussion. His ideas offer a fresh perspective, inviting us to embrace unconditional self-love and to see it as a gateway to personal growth and self-actualization. Now, we shift our lens to the work of another influential psychologist, Abraham Maslow. A pioneer of humanistic psychology, like Carl Rogers, Maslow's theories of self-actualization and the hierarchy of needs offer a compelling perspective on our discussion. Born in 1908, Abraham Maslow was a prominent American psychologist who left a significant impact on the field with his humanistic approach. This approach, often referred to as the third force in psychology, emphasized the inherent goodness of people and the importance of healthy psychological development. Maslow is perhaps best known for his theory of the hierarchy of needs, a model that continues to inform various fields, from psychology and education to business and marketing. At the heart of Maslow's work is the concept of self-actualization, which he placed at the pinnacle of his hierarchy of needs. Maslow described self-actualization as the ongoing process of realizing and fulfilling one's potential. This concept is closely related to our discussion of self-love and healthy selfishness, as it encapsulates the idea of personal growth and self-improvement. Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a pyramid, with physiological needs such as food and water at the base, and self-actualization at the top. According to Maslow, one must satisfy lower-level needs before they can pursue higher-level ones. Thus, before one can seek self-actualization, they must first fulfill their needs for safety, love and belonging, and esteem. This theory provides a fascinating lens through which we can view self-love and selfishness. Self-love in the context of Maslow's hierarchy can be seen as an essential element in satisfying these various needs. By practicing self-love, we acknowledge and attend to our needs from the physiological to the psychological. This act of self-care, which could be construed as a form of healthy selfishness, is a necessary step in the pursuit of self-actualization. Maslow also emphasized the importance of self-esteem in the hierarchy, underscoring the role of self-love and respect in personal growth. He proposed that individuals need to experience self-respect and the respect of others to progress up the hierarchy. Self-love plays a vital role here, as it forms the basis of self-esteem and self-respect. Furthermore, the pursuit of self-actualization itself can be viewed as an act of healthy selfishness. According to Maslow, self-actualization involves the pursuit of personal growth, fulfillment, and peak experiences. It's about becoming the best version of oneself. This pursuit, while arguably a form of selfishness, is a positive and healthy one, as it promotes personal development and fulfillment. By focusing on personal growth and the satisfaction of one's own needs, Maslow's theory gives a nod to the importance of a certain degree of selfishness in leading a fulfilling life. Yet, it's important to note that for Maslow, self-actualization also involved transcendence, giving to others, and recognizing a connection with the broader human community. Abraham Maslow's perspective adds another intriguing layer to our understanding of self-love and healthy selfishness. His work illuminates the path towards self-actualization, emphasizing the role of self-love in fulfilling our needs and the importance of healthy selfishness in our personal growth. Venturing into the realm of ancient wisdom, we now turn our gaze towards one of the most influential philosophers in history, Aristotle. His comprehensive work, covering areas from metaphysics to ethics and politics, has shaped centuries of thought and still holds valuable insights for our discussion on self-love and healthy selfishness. Aristotle, born in 384 BC, was a student of Plato and later became the tutor of Alexander the Great. He founded the Lyceum, a school in Athens, where he conducted courses at the school for over a decade. His work has profoundly influenced Western philosophy, serving as the foundation for many later philosophical theories and practices. Central to Aristotle's ethical philosophy is the concept of eudaimonia, often translated as happiness or flourishing. Aristotle proposed that eudaimonia is the ultimate goal of human life and thought. However, it is not a transient state of happiness or pleasure, but rather an enduring state of being that results from leading a life of virtue and achieving one's full potential. The idea of eudaimonia is intrinsically connected to the concepts of self-love and rational self-interest. Aristotle argued that self-love is not merely acceptable, but necessary for eudaimonia. To him, self-love was not a narcissistic endeavor, but rather it meant wishing for and working towards what is genuinely good for oneself. Aristotle's conception of self-love ties closely to his idea of rational self-interest. He proposed that by nature, we are rational beings who desire to realize our highest potential. Hence, genuine self-love requires the pursuit of virtue and wisdom, essentially becoming the best version of ourselves. It's a form of healthy selfishness where one seeks personal growth and fulfillment, not at the expense of others, but as a means to contribute positively to society. To comprehend how Aristotle's teachings apply to real life, let's delve into some practical implications. Suppose you're a musician, for instance. Embracing self-love, in the Aristotelian sense, would mean dedicating yourself to honing your craft, understanding and expressing your unique artistic voice, and reaching your highest potential. It's about recognizing your passion and potential, and using it to contribute to the world in your own unique way. Or consider a scenario where you're faced with a choice between pursuing a high-paying job that you don't enjoy or a lower-paying job that aligns with your passions. Following Aristotle's philosophy, the act of self-love would involve choosing the path that genuinely fulfills you and allows you to realize your potential, even if it may seem more challenging or less lucrative. These examples capture the essence of Aristotle's eudaimonia, a life of fulfillment achieved through the pursuit of virtue and personal excellence. In this regard, self-love and a certain degree of selfishness are not only desirable, but also essential. They drive us towards self-improvement and realization of our potential, contributing to our individual flourishing, and by extension, the betterment of our communities. Aristotle's wisdom illuminates a new dimension in our exploration of self-love and healthy selfishness, reinforcing the notion that these concepts are not contradictory but complementary facets of a fulfilling life. His philosophy invites us to reflect on our potential, our passions, and the choices we make, emphasizing the importance of virtuous self-love and rational self-interest in our quest for eudaimonia. Our journey now takes us to a controversial yet highly influential figure in the realm of philosophy and literature, Ayn Rand. Born in 1905 in Russia, Rand emigrated to the United States in the 1920s, where she developed her philosophical system known as objectivism, which is encapsulated in her novels like The Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged. Rand's philosophy espouses a form of ethical egoism that she described as the virtue of selfishness, providing a distinctive perspective on our exploration of self-love and healthy selfishness. Ayn Rand's philosophy, objectivism, promotes the pursuit of one's own happiness as the highest moral aim. She advocated for a form of rational selfishness, where an individual's own life and happiness are their ultimate values. Objectivism maintains that each individual has a moral obligation to pursue their self-interest, reject altruism, and uphold individual rights. In her book, The Virtue of Selfishness, Rand explains that her concept of selfishness is not a disregard for others, but an unwillingness to sacrifice oneself for others. It's worth noting that Rand's notion of rational selfishness doesn't promote harm or exploitation of others. Instead, it's about living in a way that is true to oneself, that upholds one's values and ambitions, and ultimately leads to personal fulfillment. According to Rand, one's self-interest must be determined by the use of reason, avoiding the trap of instant gratification or short-term benefits at the expense of long-term well-being. To better understand Rand's perspective, let's dissect her view of rational selfishness. The term rational is crucial here. Rand's selfishness isn't about pursuing whims or momentary desires, but rather about actions based on reasoned and long-term self-interest. Rand argues that a truly selfish person would never harm others, lie, or steal because such actions would not be in their rational self-interest. It erodes trust, ruins relationships, and ultimately disrupts one's life. Furthermore, Rand's concept of selfishness involves a deep sense of self-respect and self-esteem. Similar to the way Aristotle discussed self-love, Rand's selfishness is about respecting oneself, honoring one's values, and pursuing personal growth and fulfillment. Rand posits that this kind of rational selfishness is actually a prerequisite for a just society. If each individual is focused on their rational self-interest and respects the equal rights of others to do the same, this would lead to a society where cooperation and mutual respect flourish. According to Rand, a world where everyone practices rational selfishness is a world of independent, fulfilled individuals, living harmoniously with respect for each other's rights. In our exploration of self-love and healthy selfishness, Ayn Rand presents a provocative perspective. Her advocacy for rational selfishness challenges conventional norms, pushing us to reevaluate our understanding of selfishness and its role in our lives. It's a stark reminder of the importance of living in alignment with our values, upholding our self-interest and recognizing the fundamental role this plays in our overall well-being and happiness. While some may see her philosophy as too radical or dismiss it as a cold-hearted endorsement of egocentrism, there's no denying the value in acknowledging and embracing our self-interest. By doing so, we not only move towards our personal fulfillment, but also contribute to a more honest, transparent, and ultimately harmonious society. Our philosophical exploration now directs us towards the tranquil realm of Stoicism, introducing a significant figure from this school of thought, Epictetus. Born into slavery around 55 AD in Phrygia, Epictetus rose to become one of the leading Stoic philosophers. Despite the hardships he faced in his early life, his teachings have provided valuable insights for centuries and continue to resonate today. Stoicism is a philosophy that champions virtue, wisdom, and morality as the highest forms of happiness. It teaches that while we may not have control over what happens to us, we can control how we respond. Stoic philosophy advocates for a calm acceptance of fate and circumstances while focusing on bettering ourselves through rationality, self-discipline, and virtue. Epictetus, as a prominent Stoic philosopher, is best known for his teachings on self-control and inner freedom. His works, particularly the Discourses and the Enchiridion, outline these principles in depth. According to Epictetus, we must recognize the difference between what's within our control, our thoughts, attitudes, and reactions, and what's not, external events, other people's actions, or opinions. This understanding forms the bedrock of his philosophy and the broader Stoic thought. Self-control, in the Epictetan sense, doesn't merely mean resisting temptations or impulsive actions. Instead, it's about controlling our reactions and emotions in response to external events. It's about understanding that our inner state, our peace, is not dictated by what happens to us, but by how we choose to respond. This perspective aligns strongly with self-love as it encourages us to take care of our mental and emotional health and uphold our inner peace. Stoicism gives great importance to self-care, emphasizing the need to maintain tranquility, emotional resilience, and moral integrity. Contrary to popular belief, self-care in Stoicism doesn't revolve around indulgence or physical relaxation alone. It is about maintaining harmony between mind, body, and soul, through practices like meditation, reflection, and physical wellness. It also involves nurturing our rationality, managing our emotions, and fostering virtue, all of which are inherently linked to self-love and rational self-interest. The teachings of Epictetus and Stoic philosophy echo the concepts of self-love and rational self-interest in profound ways. He urges us to prioritize our inner peace, foster rational thinking, and uphold our moral virtues, all forms of self-love and self-interest. but perhaps the most crucial overlap lies in the idea of maintaining self-control and inner freedom. This practice underscores the need for self-respect, self-awareness, and taking responsibility for our emotional well-being, essential components of self-love and rational self-interest. Implementing Epictetus's teachings into our daily lives can have profound effects. Suppose you find yourself stressed about a project at work. Instead of letting the anxiety consume you, apply Epictetus's principle of recognizing what's within your control. You can't control the project's outcome, but you can control how much effort you put in, how you manage your time, and how you react to stress. Or, if you're struggling with self-esteem, reminding yourself of Epictetus's teachings on inner freedom can be helpful. Realize that your worth isn't defined by external opinions or events, but by your virtues, your actions, and your inner peace. As we navigate the intricate labyrinth of self-love and selfishness, our next guide is the French philosopher and one of the key figures in existential philosophy, Jean-Paul Sartre. Born in 1905 in Paris, Sartre was a prolific thinker and writer, and his thoughts have profoundly influenced Western philosophy, especially existentialism and phenomenology. Existentialism, the philosophical movement that Sartre popularized, centers around the individual's unique experience in an indifferent or even hostile universe. This school of thought emphasizes personal freedom, choice, and responsibility. Existentialists believe that each individual is free to make their life's meaning, and this freedom, while liberating, also comes with the profound responsibility of choice. Sartre's philosophy famously revolves around the concept of existence precedes essence, suggesting that we as human beings exist first, and then each of us is responsible for shaping our essence or nature. This existential freedom is at the heart of Sartre's idea of authenticity, living in a way that's true to oneself, independent of societal norms or expectations. To Sartre, authenticity involves accepting this existential freedom and taking full responsibility for our actions, choices, and the consequences that follow. It's about acknowledging that we are the authors of our lives, and we can't blame others or external circumstances for our predicaments. In Sartre's own words, man is condemned to be free, because once thrown into the world, he is responsible for everything he does. At the junction of authenticity, self-love, and selfishness, we find intriguing connections. Sartre's authenticity correlates with self-love and healthy selfishness, as it demands we stay true to ourselves and prioritize our beliefs and values. It's about recognizing our desires, taking ownership of our choices, and living in alignment with who we truly are. It's about loving oneself enough to live authentically, even if it means going against societal expectations or norms. However, Sartre's authenticity isn't about navel-gazing selfishness, but about responsibility and freedom. It's not an excuse to disregard others or shirk responsibilities. Instead, it's a call to engage authentically with our freedom and the choices it entails. Here we find a subtle but important distinction from selfishness. While authenticity requires acknowledging and acting on our desires, it doesn't involve trampling on others to get what we want. To apply Sartre's concept of authenticity in real life, consider personal relationships. Authenticity would mean being honest about your feelings and needs, even when they're not in line with what your partner, friend, or family expects. It's about having the courage to express your true self and not compromising your values or integrity to please others. Or, in a professional setting, living authentically could mean choosing a career path that genuinely fulfills you, rather than one that is prestigious or lucrative. It's about acknowledging your passions and aspirations, and taking responsibility for the choices that align with them. Sartre's concept of authenticity provides a fascinating lens to explore self-love and healthy selfishness. His existential philosophy urges us to embrace our freedom, take responsibility for our lives, and dare to live authentically, enriching our understanding of self-love and selfishness. Now, as we continue on our philosophical journey, we steer towards the east and take refuge under the enlightening Bodhi tree of Buddhism. This ancient philosophy was born out of the teachings of Siddhartha Gautama, known as the Buddha, in the 6th century BC. The Buddha's teachings have echoed through time, providing wisdom and guidance to millions around the world. Buddha's teachings revolve around the Four Noble Truths, which identify the existence of suffering, its cause, its cessation, and the path leading to this cessation. This path, known as the Noble Eightfold Path, is the Buddha's prescription for freeing oneself from suffering and attaining nirvana, a state of ultimate peace and enlightenment. A central part of the Buddha's teachings is the middle way, also known as the Noble Eightfold Path. The middle way is a path of moderation, a course between self-indulgence and self-denial. It avoids both extremes, advocating instead for a balanced and mindful approach to life. The Buddha discovered this path after experiencing both opulent luxury and severe asceticism, realizing that neither brought true happiness or enlightenment. This is a comprehensive path that covers wisdom, ethical conduct, and mental discipline. It consists of right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Together, these constitute a balanced approach to life that helps to free oneself from suffering. When we examine the middle way's implications on self-love and selfishness, a fascinating interplay becomes apparent. Self-love, from a Buddhist perspective, can be seen as a compassionate care for one's well-being, both physical and mental. It involves fostering wholesome states of mind and minimizing unwholesome ones. The practice of self-love aligns well with the middle way, as it involves taking care of one's self without falling into the extremes of narcissism or self-neglect. On the other hand, selfishness in Buddhism isn't inherently demonized. Instead, it's the unskillful or harmful expressions of selfishness that are discouraged, such as greed, hatred, and delusion. These are seen as roots of suffering that pull one away from the right path. However, a healthy sense of selfishness, like caring for one's well-being, is important in Buddhism, as it helps cultivate self-love and compassion, which are crucial in walking the middle way. Let's consider the practice of meditation, a fundamental part of Buddhist practice. Meditation can be seen as an act of self-love and healthy selfishness. It's a time you dedicate entirely to yourself, focusing inward and cultivating a tranquil and mindful state of mind. This practice aligns perfectly with the middle way, nurturing balance and avoiding extremes, like excessive outward focus or complete detachment. In a real-world context, the middle way can guide us to balance our personal and professional lives, taking care of our needs without neglecting our responsibilities towards others. It can inspire us to live healthily, neither indulging excessively in sensual pleasures nor denying ourselves joy and comfort. It teaches us to approach life with equanimity, understanding, and compassion, not just for others, but also for ourselves. The Buddha's middle way provides a compelling perspective on the delicate balance between self-love and selfishness. It encourages us to cultivate self-love and a healthy sense of self-interest without swinging to the extremes of self-indulgence or self-denial. As we delve deeper into our exploration, we turn our gaze to the mid-20th century, to the contributions of a German social psychologist, psychoanalyst, sociologist, and humanistic philosopher, Erich Fromm. Born in Frankfurt, Germany, in 1900, Fromm's ideas transcended academic fields, providing profound insights into human behavior, love, and society. Fromm is best known for his work The Art of Loving, published in 1956. In this seminal work, he presents love not as a sentiment easily swayed by passion or external factors, but as an art that one must cultivate and nurture. According to Fromm, the practice of love involves a sense of discipline, concentration, patience, and a transcendence of narcissism. Most importantly, it requires an ability to love oneself. Fromm's conception of self-love is far from the notion of narcissism or conceitedness. He emphasized that loving oneself and loving others are two sides of the same coin. They're inseparable. To Fromm, self-love means acknowledging one's own worth and not hating oneself for one's shortcomings. It's a deep appreciation for oneself that in turn allows for the genuine love of others. Fromm wrote, "In the experience of love lies the only answer to being human, lies sanity." He believed that an individual's mental health could not be separated from their capacity to love themselves and others. He argued that self-love and the love for others are intertwined, noting, "Love isn't possible without self-love, and self-love isn't possible without the love for others." In practical terms, Fromm's idea of self-love encourages us to maintain a balance between caring for ourselves and for others. It's about acknowledging our own needs and aspirations while respecting and caring for the needs and aspirations of others. It rejects the notion of self-love as a narcissistic, self-absorbed act, redefining it instead as an inclusive act that extends beyond the self. In our relationships, whether personal or professional, Fromm's idea encourages us to practice active listening, understanding, and mutual respect, stemming from the love we cultivate for ourselves and extend to others. It pushes us to be patient, not just with others, but also with ourselves, as we navigate through the challenges of life. In the realm of personal growth and development, Fromm's concept teaches us to embrace our flaws and work on them without hating or being too harsh on ourselves. It encourages a healthy level of self-critique and introspection, fostering personal growth and a better understanding of ourselves. Fromm's perspective on self-love as an integral part of loving others provides a crucial layer to our understanding of self-love and selfishness. His thoughts encourage us to recognize self-love not as an isolated, self-centered act, but as a vital step towards loving others and leading a wholesome life. As we journey through the different philosophies and psychological perspectives on self-love and selfishness, we find ourselves in a mosaic of ideas, each unique, yet sharing common threads. Comparing and contrasting these perspectives helps us appreciate their depth and diversity and guides us in integrating these principles into our daily lives. Starting with Carl Rogers, we saw that self-love is intrinsically tied to the concept of self-actualization. A positive view of oneself enables one to explore their potentials and capabilities fully. The concept of self-actualization resurfaces in Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, emphasizing self-love as a crucial element in fulfilling our highest potential. Aristotle's eudaimonia echoes similar sentiments, with the pursuit of happiness through self-realization and the achievement of personal excellence. On the other hand, Ayn Rand's objectivism introduces the idea of rational selfishness, arguing that pursuing one's self-interest when done rationally is the highest moral purpose. This contrasts with the Stoic perspective, represented by Epictetus, that advocates for self-control and inner freedom, seeking tranquility and virtue rather than immediate self-gratification. Jean-Paul Sartre's existentialist perspective throws us into the pursuit of authenticity, implying that self-love is about embracing our freedom and taking responsibility for our actions. Meanwhile, Buddha's middle way teaches us to navigate between the extremes of self-denial and self-indulgence, emphasizing the need for a balanced approach to self-love and selfishness. Erich Fromm bridges these different perspectives by presenting self-love as an art, crucial for our ability to love others. His work underscores the mutual interdependence between loving oneself and loving others. Despite their varied historical and cultural contexts, these philosophers and psychologists share an appreciation for the value of self-love and a balanced sense of selfishness. They all recognize, in one way or another, that self-love is not an act of vanity or narcissism, but a crucial part of human well-being and a key to a fulfilling life. The concept of selfishness, too, is reframed as a healthy act of caring for oneself and not an expression of disregard for others. In terms of applying these perspectives to contemporary life, we can take away several valuable lessons. Self-love is about recognizing our self-worth and treating ourselves with kindness and respect. It involves understanding and meeting our needs, whether physical, emotional, or psychological. Healthy selfishness, on the other hand, is about setting boundaries and making time for ourselves amid our busy lives. It's about asserting our interests while maintaining empathy and consideration for others. In a world that often demands us to put others' needs before our own, these philosophical and psychological perspectives remind us of the importance of taking care of ourselves too. After all, as the adage goes, you cannot pour from an empty cup. In the act of nurturing ourselves, we become better equipped to contribute to the world and enrich the lives of those around us. As we venture forth into our individual journeys, let these philosophers and psychologists be our guides. Let their insights illuminate our paths as we navigate the terrains of self-love and selfishness, as we endeavor to create a balance that fosters personal development and contributes to a good life. As you venture forth, hold on to the insight that self-love and balanced selfishness are not barriers to our growth, but catalysts for it. They form the undercurrent of a life that's not just good, but meaningful, fulfilling, and truly our own. Have you ever found yourself pondering over the fundamental questions of human existence? Who am I? Why am I here? What's the purpose of life? If you have, you've unknowingly delved into the realm of existentialism, a philosophy that places human individual existence, freedom, and choice at its center. Imagine you're floating in the endless cosmos, gazing down at the world, a tiny sphere amidst an infinite expanse. All the successes, all the failures, the entire human experience condensed into this one small dot. It's overwhelming, right? It might even seem absurd, but don't despair, because that sense of insignificance is precisely where existentialism begins. Existentialism, in its simplest terms, is a philosophy concerned with finding the self and the meaning of life through free will, choice, and personal responsibility. It rejects the idea that the universe inherently holds any truths or meaning about our individual lives. Rather, it suggests that it's up to each of us to give our own life meaning, to navigate this vast, uncaring universe where established structures or morals offer no easy paths. This philosophy originated in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, born out of the chaos and disillusionment following World War II. It was a philosophical rebellion, one that sought to explore the human condition in a world that appeared increasingly absurd. Among the many philosophers who contributed to this thought-provoking field, two names are particularly prominent and will serve as our guiding stars throughout this exploration: Jean-Paul Sartre and Albert Camus. Jean-Paul Sartre, the renowned French philosopher, is often seen as the pivotal figure in existentialist thought. His belief that existence precedes essence encapsulates the idea that we come into the world without predefined purpose or nature, and that we must create our essence through our choices and actions. In Sartre's view, we are not born with a specific mission or inherent meaning. Rather, we find ourselves in a seemingly arbitrary world, and it becomes our existential responsibility to shape our destiny and give our life its unique meaning. Then we have Albert Camus, another French philosopher who, while often associated with existentialism, preferred to identify his philosophy as absurdist. For Camus, the universe is indifferent to our struggles, our joys, our existence. But rather than spiraling into despair, he saw this recognition as a starting point to create our own meaning, to rebel against the absurdity and embrace the freedom it offers. We'll be diving deep into their philosophies, unpacking their key concepts and exploring how their ideas can provide valuable insight into our own lives. Because isn't that the ultimate goal? to understand and navigate our existence in this grand cosmos. Welcome to our journey into the heart of existentialism, a journey where we may not find easy answers, but will undoubtedly uncover thought-provoking questions about life, freedom, and personal responsibility. The roots of existentialism, while firmly planted in the 19th and 20th centuries, stretch back much further, drawing nourishment from the rich philosophical soil of the past. The philosophy's emphasis on individual experience, freedom, and the meaning of existence can be traced to the works of thinkers like Søren Kierkegaard and Friedrich Nietzsche. Kierkegaard, a Danish philosopher in the mid-19th century, is often hailed as the first existentialist thinker. He emphasized the importance of individual experience and personal responsibility, arguing against the trend of philosophical abstraction and insisting on the centrality of the individual's direct lived experience. He argued that truth is subjectivity, meaning that the most significant truths, especially those concerning ethics and religion, are deeply personal and subjective. On the other hand, we have Nietzsche, the iconoclastic German philosopher who fiercely criticized the established values of his time. Nietzsche's philosophy echoed the existentialist theme of individualism. He emphasized the creative, life-affirming individual who defies conventional morality to create their own values. Despite these early roots, existentialism, as we understand it today, came into its own in the aftermath of the Second World War, a time that witnessed cataclysmic despair, loss, and a crisis of identity. It was a period where previously held societal and philosophical certainties were upended, forcing humanity to reassess its place in the world. In this context, existentialism's emphasis on personal freedom, the responsibility of choice, and the search for authentic existence resonated deeply. The core tenet of this philosophy, that existence precedes essence, countered the traditional philosophical view that essence or a set nature precedes existence. This revolutionary idea suggested that we are born without a predetermined purpose or nature, and that it's our responsibility to define ourselves through our actions and choices. Simone de Beauvoir, another significant existentialist thinker, echoed this sentiment in her seminal work, The Second Sex, where she examined the existentialist dilemma through the lens of women's experience, thus connecting existentialism with the growing feminist movement. The existentialist philosophy was also profoundly influenced by the rapidly changing political landscape. The rise of totalitarian regimes, the horrors of the Holocaust, and the nuclear threat led to a profound sense of fear, uncertainty, and alienation, which was echoed in existentialist works. Finally, it's essential to highlight the cultural landscape, notably the fields of literature and art, which significantly influenced existentialism. Existential themes are apparent in the works of Fyodor Dostoevsky, Franz Kafka, and Samuel Beckett, whose characters often grapple with despair, isolation, and the absurdity of existence, vividly illustrating existentialist ideas. Thus, existentialism emerged from the convergence of philosophical thought, historical upheaval, and cultural expression, a reaction to the modern world's challenges, pushing individuals to confront their existence's absurdity and find personal meaning amidst the chaos. So having set the historical stage, let's now move on to the central figures of our exploration, Sartre and Camus. Their philosophies, born out of this tumultuous period, continue to challenge and inspire us as we navigate the complexities of our own lives. Jean-Paul Sartre, born in 1905 in Paris, France, was a man of many talents. He was a philosopher, novelist, playwright, and critic, with an influence that extended far beyond the confines of academic philosophy. He is widely recognized as the leading figure of the existentialist movement. Orphaned at a young age, Sartre was raised by his grandparents. He excelled academically and attended a prestigious university in Paris. There he met lifelong companion Simone de Beauvoir, a formidable intellectual in her own right, and formed a radical open relationship that would challenge societal norms. Sartre served as a meteorologist in the French army during World War II and was captured by German forces in 1940. His experiences of war and imprisonment profoundly shaped his philosophical outlook, fueling his deep engagement with questions of freedom, responsibility, and the meaning of life. One of Sartre's most significant contributions to existentialist philosophy is his assertion that existence precedes essence. This idea counters traditional philosophy, which generally posits that things have a defined essence or nature, which determines their purpose. In contrast, Sartre argues that human beings first exist, encounter themselves, and only then define their essence or nature. This idea is closely tied to Sartre's notion of radical freedom. For Sartre, each individual is radically free and responsible for their actions. Since there is no predetermined human nature or external source of value, every action a person takes helps define what it means to be human. This freedom is both exhilarating and terrifying. It allows limitless potential for self-definition but also demands total responsibility for one's life and choices. Yet, as Sartre notes, humans often seek to avoid the anxiety of this freedom by pretending they are not free, a behavior he termed bad faith. By blaming our circumstances, genetics, or societal expectations, we deny our freedom and responsibility. For Sartre, acknowledging our freedom is the first step toward authentic existence. Sartre's philosophy also engages deeply with the concept of nothingness. In his seminal work, Being and Nothingness, he grapples with the idea of consciousness as a form of nothingness, separating us from the world and allowing us the freedom to transcend our situation. This perspective frames the human condition as a paradoxical tension between being and nothingness, a struggle that defines our existence. Furthermore, Sartre discusses the concept of the look or the gaze of the other. He believed that our awareness of other people's perception of us can lead to a feeling of objectification, encapsulated in his famous phrase, "Hell is other people." For Sartre, this is not a dismissal of all interpersonal relationships, but rather a commentary on how the awareness of others' perspectives can confine our freedom. Sartre's philosophy is deeply intertwined with his commitment to political activism and social justice. He saw philosophy not merely as an academic exercise, but as a tool for critiquing and transforming society. His existentialism was a philosophy of action, urging individuals to recognize their freedom and use it to challenge injustice and create a more authentic existence. Being and Nothingness, published in 1943, is perhaps Sartre's most influential work. It is an intricate and profound exploration of phenomenology and existentialism, featuring a detailed analysis of human consciousness, freedom, and the nature of existence. In Being and Nothingness, Sartre differentiates between two types of being. First, the being in itself, akin to the objective existence of inanimate objects, devoid of consciousness, and second, the being in itself, which refers to the subjective existence of conscious beings, our state of being. It's within the being in itself, where Sartre identifies the essence of human existence, freedom. Sartre suggests that we as human beings are fundamentally free because we are not fixed beings, but rather becomings. Our consciousness, our nothingness, separates us from the world, thus allowing the capacity to question, to negate, and to imagine realities other than what is. This freedom to transcend the is, to envisage the what could be, is the heart of Sartre's existentialism. To illustrate, consider this quote from Being and Nothingness. "Man is not the sum of what he has, but the totality of what he does not yet have, of what he could have." This profound statement underscores Sartre's view of man as a perpetually incomplete project, his existence defined not by his past or present state, but by his future possibilities, his potential to change, create, and redefine his essence. Shifting to Nausea, Sartre's first novel and another cornerstone of his philosophical thought. Published in 1938, Nausea introduces us to Antoine Roquentin, a man gripped by a profound existential crisis, a feeling of nausea as he confronts the absurdity and meaninglessness of existence. Through Roquentin's existential anguish, Sartre explores themes of alienation, freedom, and the absence of objective meaning. Roquentin's realization that the world is indifferent to his existence, that his life carries no inherent purpose, initially leaves him in despair, a feeling Sartre describes as nausea. This term encapsulates the profound discomfort that can come with recognizing the fundamental absurdity of existence. Consider this excerpt from Nausea. Every existing thing is born without reason, prolongs itself out of weakness, and dies by chance. This unsettling realization encapsulates the angst of Roquentin's and by extension our existential predicament. In a world devoid of intrinsic meaning, how do we cope? How do we live? The answer for Sartre lies in the freedom that this absurdity affords us. The absence of inherent meaning doesn't necessitate despair, rather it opens a realm of possibilities. It allows us, compels us even, to create our own purpose, to define our essence through our actions and choices. This theme is echoed in another quote from Nausea. "I am free. There is absolutely no more reason for living. All the ones I've tried have given way and I can't imagine more of them. I have to build them myself." It is a clear call to action, a recognition of the overwhelming yet liberating responsibility we bear to construct our meaning in a world that refuses to offer it readily. Sartre's works, such as Being and Nothingness and Nausea, present a bold and nuanced exploration of human existence. They challenge us to face the disquieting reality of our freedom and the absence of objective meaning, while empowering us to embrace our role as the creators of our essence. Albert Camus, born in 1913 in French Algeria, grew up amidst extreme poverty, which would shape his political consciousness and empathy for the marginalized. He was a brilliant student, earning a scholarship to the University of Algiers, where he studied philosophy and developed a passion for theater, journalism, and political activism. Camus moved to France just before the outbreak of World War II and became active in the French resistance, using his position as editor of the underground newspaper Combat to voice his opposition to fascism. It was this blending of philosophy, literature, and political activism that characterized Camus' career and informed his distinctive philosophical outlook. Though Camus is often associated with existentialism, he famously rejected the label, instead preferring to describe his philosophy as a philosophy of the absurd. Camus argued that life's inherent absurdity comes from the conflict between our human desire for meaning, order, and clarity, and the silent, indifferent universe that offers none. At the heart of Camus' philosophy lies his concept of the absurd, which he explores in depth in his essay The Myth of Sisyphus. Drawing from the ancient Greek myth, Camus likens the human condition to the fate of Sisyphus, doomed to eternally roll a boulder up a hill only for it to roll back down again. Like Sisyphus, we must confront the absurdity of our existence, the seemingly futile cycle of life and death in an indifferent universe. Yet Camus does not see this absurdity as a cause for despair. On the contrary, he believed that acknowledging the absurd liberates us to live fully and authentically. In his words, the struggle itself towards the heights is enough to fill a man's heart. One must imagine Sisyphus happy. Camus also posited the idea of revolt as a response to absurdity. By consciously choosing to continue living in spite of life's absurdity, we enact a form of personal revolt, affirming our existence and dignity. This idea of revolt is also present in his political beliefs, where he advocated for justice and rebellion against oppression. Another key aspect of Camus' philosophy is the emphasis on personal meaning and morality. Despite the lack of objective meaning or universal moral laws, Camus believed that we could and should create our personal values. For Camus, these values often revolved around simple human joys and sensual experiences: the sun on his face, the beauty of the Mediterranean landscape, the companionship of friends. This emphasis on the sensual and tangible is encapsulated in his novel The Stranger, where the protagonist Meursault lives entirely in the physical realm. Yet even in embracing the physical, Camus didn't dismiss the importance of moral integrity. In a universe devoid of inherent meaning or moral law, Camus saw personal responsibility as paramount. This moral responsibility, however, was not founded on divine decree or societal norms, but a personal commitment to live authentically and resist injustice. Camus offers a philosophy of the absurd that is both sobering and empowering. His philosophy challenges us to confront the absurdity of our existence while inspiring us to affirm our lives through personal revolt and the creation of individual meaning. The Stranger, published in 1942, is Camus' first novel and arguably his best-known work. Told through the lens of the protagonist Meursault, the novel explores the themes of absurdity, indifference, and rebellion, key pillars of Camus' philosophy. In the novel, Meursault, a French Algerian, leads an emotionally detached life, responding to the world around him with an almost apathetic indifference. When his mother dies, he displays no grief, and when he commits an act of senseless violence, he shows no remorse. His emotional disconnection from the world is reflected in his indifference to societal expectations and norms, embodying Camus' notion of the absurd man. An essential excerpt to understand Camus' thoughts can be found in the courtroom scene where Meursault states, "I had lived my life one way and I could just as well have lived it another. I had done this and I hadn't done that. I hadn't done this thing, but I had done another. And so?" This statement encapsulates the essence of his character and Camus' philosophy of absurdism. Life, for Meursault, is a series of arbitrary choices devoid of intrinsic meaning. While this view might seem nihilistic, for Camus, the acknowledgement of life's absurdity doesn't lead to despair or inaction. Rather, it opens up the possibility of a liberated existence, unshackled from the constraints of societal norms and expectations. Camus drives this point home when Meursault is condemned to death. At this juncture, he experiences a radical shift in perspective, declaring, "I opened myself to the gentle indifference of the world, finding it so much like myself, so like a brother really. I felt that I had been happy, and that I was happy again." In the face of death, he chooses to embrace life's absurdity and experiences a sense of kinship with the indifferent universe, echoing Camus' call to revolt against the absurd and to affirm life. However, The Stranger isn't simply a narrative of existential angst and rebellion. It also provides a nuanced exploration of morality. Meursault's actions and the societal responses they provoke force us to question the nature of morality, particularly in a universe that offers no inherent moral code. Can there be a sense of right and wrong in an absurd world? If so, how is it defined? Camus doesn't provide easy answers, but prompts us to wrestle with these questions ourselves, urging us to take responsibility for creating our personal moral compass. This theme is reflected in the book's final lines, as Meursault muses, "For everything to be consummated, for me to feel less alone, I had only to wish that there be a large crowd of spectators the day of my execution, and that they greet me with cries of hate." The Stranger offers a vivid portrayal of Camus' philosophy of the absurd. Through the main character, we confront the indifference of the universe and the arbitrary nature of existence, yet are also challenged to affirm our lives, establish our morality, and embrace the freedom that the absurd offers. In The Myth of Sisyphus, Camus elucidates his philosophy of the absurd with greater depth and precision. He begins the essay with the provocative claim, "There is but one truly serious philosophical problem, and that is suicide." From there, he delves into an exploration of life's inherent absurdity and how we might navigate a world that appears meaningless. The title itself is a reference to a figure from Greek mythology, Sisyphus, who was punished by the gods to endlessly roll a boulder up a hill, only to watch it roll back down, repeating this task for all eternity. For Camus, Sisyphus embodies the human condition. We strive and labor in life, yet ultimately we face death and the potential meaninglessness of our efforts. However, he argues that acknowledging the absurdity of life does not lead to despair, but rather to a sense of freedom and even happiness. He encourages us to live without hope for a future life or any form of ultimate salvation, stating, "The struggle itself towards the heights is enough to fill a man's heart." One must imagine Sisyphus happy. This passage is central to understanding Camus' perspective. Despite life's inherent absurdity, despite the endless labor and inevitable death, Sisyphus can find happiness. How? By embracing the struggle, by acknowledging the absurdity of his task and yet choosing to continue, by living fully in the present and deriving satisfaction from the work itself, not some distant promised reward. Just like Sisyphus, we are tasked with pushing our own boulders, be it work, relationships, dreams, or goals. We too face the uncertainty of our efforts' ultimate significance, the reality of death, and the indifference of the universe. And yet we also possess the ability to affirm life, to find joy in the struggle, and to carve out our personal meaning in the face of the absurd. In the end, the myth of Sisyphus is more than a philosophical essay. It's a call to arms. It urges us to revolt against the absurdity of life by affirming our existence, by choosing to continue despite the lack of inherent meaning, and by finding joy in the struggle itself. This theme of revolt is echoed in another key excerpt, where Camus states, "I draw from the absurd three consequences: my revolt, my freedom, and my passion." By accepting and confronting the absurd, we liberate ourselves from illusions of objective meaning and societal expectations. This leads to authentic living, in which we freely define our values and pursue our passions. The myth of Sisyphus encapsulates the philosophy of the absurd, asserting that life's meaning is not given but made. It is up to us to grapple with the absurd, embrace the struggle of existence, and craft our unique path, much like Sisyphus, with his ceaseless and solitary labor. Camus offers a philosophy of the absurd that is both sobering and empowering. His philosophy challenges us to confront the absurdity of our existence, while inspiring us to affirm our lives through personal revolt and the creation of individual meaning. In our next segment, we'll explore how these existential philosophies of Sartre and Camus can apply to our daily lives, guiding us in our quest for authenticity, freedom, and personal meaning. Having journeyed through the minds of Sartre and Camus, we now turn to the fundamental question: how does existential philosophy relate to our modern life? How can these insights from the mid-20th century help us navigate our lives in the 21st century? To begin with, both philosophers offer a paradigm shift in how we approach life. From Sartre, we are urged to embrace our radical freedom and the responsibility it entails. In a world often driven by external influences, societal norms, family expectations, cultural trends, we are reminded that we possess the freedom to define ourselves, to choose who we are and what we value. This can be seen in the choices we make daily. whether it's our career path, our relationships, our hobbies, or our response to the challenges life presents us. We are not bound by our circumstances, our past, or other people's expectations. We are free to shape our existence and to bear the responsibility for our actions. This perspective can lead to an empowering sense of agency and authenticity. Consider a practical example. You may find yourself working a job that doesn't fulfill you, perhaps chosen due to societal pressure or familial expectations. Sartre's philosophy would encourage you to embrace your freedom, to evaluate your options, and to make a conscious choice about your career path based on your authentic desires and values rather than external pressures. From Camus, we learn to acknowledge and confront the absurdity of life. Rather than seeking solace in illusions of objective meaning or ultimate salvation, we are encouraged to create our personal meaning and values. This can liberate us from the societal rat race and the unending pursuit of externally defined success. Furthermore, Camus' notion of revolt can inspire us to affirm our lives, even amidst adversity and suffering. Consider a situation where you're confronted with a personal setback, like a failure or loss. Camus' philosophy would urge you to confront this adversity head-on, to recognize its absurdity, and to continue striving regardless, thus revolting against the absurd. Applying this to a practical context, suppose you experience a failure in your personal or professional life. Rather than surrendering to despair or viewing it as a commentary on your self-worth, you could see it as an integral part of life's absurdity and use the experience to grow and reaffirm your commitment to your chosen path. Additionally, the existentialist focus on authenticity encourages us to engage deeply with our passions and interests, enhancing our sense of purpose and fulfillment. In a world often preoccupied with superficial pleasures and distractions, existentialism calls us back to a genuine engagement with life. Existentialism challenges us to take moral responsibility for our actions. In a world devoid of absolute moral laws, we are urged to create our moral compass. This requires introspection, dialogue, and conscious decision-making, promoting a more mindful and engaged approach to ethics. Existentialism invites us to reconsider how we perceive our lives and our search for purpose. By highlighting the lack of inherent meaning and the responsibility each of us has to create our path, existentialism offers a roadmap for those seeking purpose and fulfillment in today's fast-paced, complex world. Let's consider purpose first. In a world where myriad options can often lead to paralysis by analysis, existentialism urges us to lean into this uncertainty, this freedom, and this responsibility to make choices. Sartre's famous quote, "We are our choices," underpins this existential approach to purpose. Rather than seeking an externally defined purpose, existentialism encourages us to forge our purpose through our actions, through the choices we make, and the responsibilities we take on. Imagine you're at a crossroads in your career. You have multiple paths you could take, each with its own set of potential rewards and challenges. Rather than looking outside for answers, existentialism would prompt you to introspect, to understand your true desires and values, and to choose a path aligned with those. Your purpose, then, is not something you find but something you create through your decisions and actions. When it comes to fulfillment, existentialism offers a similarly empowering perspective. The existentialist emphasis on authenticity and engagement with life can lead to a deeper sense of fulfillment. Fulfillment, in this context, is not derived from meeting societal expectations or achieving conventional markers of success. Instead, it arises from living authentically, from choosing your path, from engaging deeply with your passions and interests, and from creating your personal meaning. For instance, you might find fulfillment in pursuing a hobby that brings you joy, even if it doesn't align with traditional notions of success or productivity. Or you might derive fulfillment from contributing to a cause you deeply care about, from building meaningful relationships, or from engaging in continuous learning and personal growth. Both Sartre and Camus assert that we create our life's meaning through our actions and attitudes. This perspective shifts the focus from external validation to internal authenticity. It reminds us that we are not passive spectators, but active participants in our lives. This shift can lead to profound personal growth and a more fulfilling life as we cease to be defined by external circumstances and begin to shape our existence based on our authentic selves. To bring this to life, imagine if you measured success not by how much money you make or how many followers you have on social media, but by how authentically you live, how passionate you are about your work, how deeply you engage with your interests, and how much you grow as an individual. This would lead to a much deeper sense of fulfillment, grounded in authenticity rather than external validation. Moreover, by confronting and embracing life's inherent absurdity, as proposed by Camus, we can also find fulfillment. We cease to view life's challenges, setbacks, and sufferings as interruptions to an otherwise smooth journey. Instead, we see them as integral parts of our existence, opportunities for growth and reaffirmation of our chosen path. In this context, a setback or failure is no longer a barrier to fulfillment, but a part of the journey itself. It's a chance to re-evaluate, to learn, to grow, and to continue on our path with renewed determination and understanding. Existentialism provides us with a powerful lens through which to view our quest for purpose and fulfillment. It doesn't provide us with easy answers or predetermined paths. Instead, it arms us with the tools and perspectives needed to navigate the complexity of life, to make conscious choices, and to create our purpose and fulfillment. The relevance and impact of existentialism are as profound today as they were in the mid-20th century. The existential lens can provide clarity and direction in our increasingly complex and ambiguous world. The philosophies of Sartre and Camus invite us to reflect deeply on our lives, to question our assumptions, and to take active steps in creating our purpose and fulfillment. As we close this chapter, I encourage you, the viewer, to carry these insights with you. Reflect on them, question them, discuss them. Look at your life through the existential lens. Remember, your existence is not defined by external circumstances or pre-existing essences. You have the freedom to shape your existence, to create your meaning, to define your purpose, and to seek your fulfillment. In a world often brimming with uncertainty and chaos, the existential perspective serves as a reminder that we hold the pen that writes our life's story. So as we step out of the world of Sartre and Camus and back into our lives, let's do so with a renewed sense of agency, authenticity, and resolve to live deeply, meaningfully, and authentically. Have you ever felt overwhelmed by the fast-paced modern world? Have you sought a sense of tranquility amidst chaos, or clarity in the face of uncertainty? What if I told you that there is a path, a way of life, that could provide you with the tools to navigate the challenges of life with equanimity and resilience? That path is Stoicism, an ancient philosophy that is as relevant today as it was 2,000 years ago. Stoicism is an enduring philosophy that originated in the Hellenistic period, but its timeless wisdom resonates powerfully in today's world. Stoicism teaches us how to lead a fulfilling life, how to manage our emotions, and how to face adversity with strength and poise. It advises us to focus on what's within our control and accept what's beyond it. And one of the greatest exponents of this school of thought was Seneca, a prominent Stoic philosopher from Rome. Born in the year 4 BC, Seneca was a man of many talents. A philosopher, statesman, dramatist, and in one part of his life, an advisor to the Emperor Nero. But what we remember him most for today, and what has influenced generations of thinkers, leaders, and everyday people alike, is his profound philosophical writings. His philosophical works have stood the test of time, providing guidance and insights that remain astonishingly applicable to the challenges we face today. Among his various contributions, Letters from a Stoic stands out as an especially powerful piece. It's a compilation of 124 letters that Seneca wrote to his friend Lucilius, where he shared his wisdom, reflections, and advice on a range of topics. These letters offer a rich tapestry of wisdom, a timeless guide to the art of living well. They remind us of the importance of virtue, the significance of living in the moment, the power of resilience in the face of adversity, and much more. These lessons from Seneca are not just theoretical musings. They are practical pieces of advice that we can apply in our daily lives. They offer a roadmap for us, a guide on how to lead a good life, how to find peace in a chaotic world, how to deal with adversity and hardship, how to cultivate true friendships, and how to find happiness in our lives. As we embark on this journey into the heart of Stoicism through Seneca's letters, it is crucial to understand the applicability and significance of these teachings in our contemporary times. The world we live in today is vastly different from Seneca's Rome, but the human condition, our hopes, fears, challenges, and emotions remain fundamentally the same. In an era of information overload, where our senses are continuously bombarded with distractions, the Stoic principle of focusing on what's within our control becomes a beacon of clarity. It helps us declutter our minds, guiding us to direct our energies on our actions and responses rather than fretting over external circumstances. This principle can not only enhance our productivity, but also bring a sense of calm and serenity in the midst of chaos. Our modern society often equates success with material wealth and social status. However, Seneca's letters remind us that true wealth and happiness stem from virtue and wisdom. These teachings encourage us to redefine our notions of success, to strive for personal growth, ethical living, and meaningful relationships, thereby fostering a deep and lasting sense of fulfillment. Moreover, in a world that tends to shy away from discussions about mortality, Seneca's frank discourse on life and death is refreshingly insightful. His views encourage us to confront and contemplate our mortality, allowing us to live more purposefully, cherishing each moment, and making the most of our finite lives. Furthermore, as mental health issues become increasingly prevalent, Seneca's advice on managing our emotions, from anger and fear to anxiety and sadness, offers valuable strategies. His teachings on emotional resilience, self-discipline, and the power of rational thought can serve as crucial tools in our psychological toolkit. The lessons we're about to explore are far from obsolete philosophical thoughts. They are practical, powerful, and profoundly relevant to our modern lives. They offer timeless wisdom that can guide us in navigating our complex world with equanimity, courage, and wisdom. Seneca, like many Stoics, held a transformative perspective on adversity. He viewed it not as a hindrance, but as a necessary part of life that could foster personal growth and resilience. In one of his letters he wrote, "Fire is the test of gold, adversity of strong men." This analogy beautifully encapsulates Seneca's stance on hardships. Just as gold is refined through fire, it is through facing and overcoming adversities that our character is tested and strengthened. This statement is not an invitation to seek out hardship for hardship's sake. It is a call to shift our perspective on the difficulties we encounter. It is about finding the strength and resolve within ourselves to endure tough times and emerge on the other side, not just intact, but stronger and wiser. How then do we apply this wisdom to our modern lives? Let's start with an example. Consider the global pandemic that swept across the world. For many, it was an intense period of adversity. It brought along physical health threats, mental health challenges, financial instability, and a profound sense of uncertainty. However, it also served as a test, a fire, if you will, that allowed individuals, communities, and even nations to display resilience, innovate, and evolve. We've seen people adapt to working from home, businesses shift to digital platforms, communities come together to support each other, and healthcare systems innovate rapidly to combat the virus. On a personal level, hardships could take the form of a lost job, the end of a relationship, or a health scare. These are undoubtedly painful experiences, but they also provide opportunities for growth. Losing a job could open the door to finding a more fulfilling career or even starting your own business. The end of a relationship could lead to a period of self-discovery and self-improvement. A health scare might serve as a wake-up call to start prioritizing your well-being and make healthier lifestyle choices. In all these situations, the Stoic approach is not to ignore or suppress the pain. It's about acknowledging the pain, accepting the reality of the situation, and then using it as a catalyst for change and growth. It's about realizing that while we cannot always control what happens to us, we have control over how we respond. Now, this doesn't mean that navigating hardships will be easy, but Seneca's teachings offer us an empowering perspective. It's a perspective that reframes adversity from being a blockade to a stepping stone, a test that refines us and makes us stronger. It's a perspective that encourages us to face challenges head-on with courage and resilience. Let's remember that hardships are not necessarily hindrances, but can be powerful catalysts for personal growth. So the next time you face adversity, remember Seneca's words: fire is the test of gold, adversity of strong men. You have the strength within you to navigate life's hardships, and each challenge you overcome is an opportunity to become a stronger, wiser version of yourself. One of Seneca's most profound teachings revolves around the concept of time. He provides us with a stark reminder of its fleeting nature in his letter, stating, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Life is long enough, and a sufficiently generous amount has been given to us for the highest achievements, if it were all well invested." This insight challenges our usual perceptions, suggesting that life isn't inherently short, but it becomes so when we squander the time given to us. In our modern, fast-paced world, this lesson rings especially true. We often find ourselves running from one commitment to another, so caught up in our routines and future plans that we fail to appreciate the present. We delay our happiness for some distant future, thinking, "I'll be happy when I get that promotion," or "I'll enjoy life when I retire." But Seneca urges us to reconsider this approach. The Stoics emphasize the importance of living in the present moment, cherishing the here and now, instead of constantly worrying about the past or the future. This doesn't mean we shouldn't plan for the future or learn from the past, but it does mean that we should strive to make the most of each moment, recognizing that time, once gone, cannot be reclaimed. But how does this relate to our lives today, and how can we apply Seneca's wisdom to our life? Firstly, we can practice mindfulness, the art of being fully engaged in the present moment. Whether you're working, spending time with loved ones, or simply enjoying a quiet moment alone, try to be fully present, savoring the experience without distraction. This not only allows you to appreciate each moment more deeply, but can also improve your focus, productivity, and overall well-being. Secondly, reflect on your daily activities and routines. Are there areas where you're wasting time on unfulfilling or unnecessary tasks? Can you delegate, eliminate, or streamline these activities to free up more time for what truly matters to you? Remember, every minute spent on something meaningless is a minute taken away from something meaningful. Thirdly, cultivate a sense of gratitude for the time you have. Instead of bemoaning the quick passage of time, appreciate each day, each hour, and even each breath, recognizing them as the precious gifts they are. Finally, ensure that you're not just living for the future. Set goals and strive for them, but don't forget to find joy and fulfillment in the journey towards those goals. After all, life is happening right now, in the present moment. Seneca's reflection on the shortness of life is a powerful wake-up call for all of us. It's a call to stop wasting time, to stop postponing our happiness for the future, and to start living fully in the present. It's a call to remember that our time is limited and to make the most of the time we have. In the end, it's not about how much time we have, but how we choose to use it. As Seneca reminds us, it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. So let's strive to make each moment count, living fully in the present and making the most of the precious time we have. In his wide-ranging exploration of life and philosophy, Seneca didn't leave out the significance of human relationships. He held a deep understanding of the human need for connection, and his thoughts on friendship remain particularly resonant today. He said, "One of the most beautiful qualities of true friendship is to understand and to be understood." This simple yet profound observation is packed with wisdom about the nature and importance of genuine friendship. At its core, this statement underscores empathy as the cornerstone of any true friendship or relationship. To understand and to be understood means to share a deep sense of mutual empathy, a willingness to listen and to share, to perceive the world through another's eyes, and to let them see through yours. So how does this ancient wisdom hold up in our modern context? Firstly, we must understand that true friendships are not formed merely by spending time together or sharing common interests. The essence of a meaningful relationship lies in empathy, in understanding each other's joys, pains, ambitions, fears, and most importantly, offering support and compassion through all life's ups and downs. In an era where we are increasingly connected digitally, yet risk being emotionally distant, it becomes essential to nurture these deep, understanding relationships. Despite our busy schedules, we must strive to invest time and energy into these bonds. This might mean having heart-to-heart conversations, being there for each other in times of need, or simply sharing moments of joy and laughter together. Secondly, Seneca's wisdom invites us to reflect on our existing relationships. Are they based on mutual understanding and empathy, or are they superficial? Are we maintaining relationships that drain us, or are we surrounded by people who understand and uplift us? Remember, it's the quality of our friendships, not the quantity, that truly counts. Lastly, Seneca's quote is not merely about being understood, but also about understanding others. This means we should strive to be good listeners, to be compassionate, to understand others without judgment. It's about making a conscious effort to understand their perspectives, their feelings, and their experiences. It's about cultivating empathy and letting it guide our interactions. In a world where misunderstandings often lead to conflicts, practicing this kind of understanding and empathy can lead to stronger, more fulfilling relationships. It can foster deeper connections, not just with our friends, but with our family members, colleagues, and even the strangers we interact with. Seneca's wisdom reminds us of the power of understanding and being understood. It reminds us that at the heart of every great friendship lies mutual empathy. So let's take Seneca's advice to heart and strive to build friendships based on understanding and empathy. As we foster such relationships, we not only enrich our own lives but also bring joy and understanding into the lives of others. In this way, we create a ripple effect of positivity and connection, building a world that understands and is understood. Seneca's teachings encompass various facets of life, including emotional management, specifically dealing with anger. He astutely observes, "There is no more stupefying thing than anger, nothing more bent on its own strength." This lesson from Seneca is a testament to the Stoic practice of exercising control over one's emotional state, and it offers valuable insights on managing what can be one of the most destructive emotions, anger. Seneca posits anger as a self-obsessed and self-sustaining emotion. When we're angry, we become trapped within the confines of our own emotion, often leading to irrational decisions and actions that we later regret. Anger, in Seneca's view, is not just another emotion, it is a consuming and obstructive force that impedes our judgment and tranquility. In the heat of the moment, it's all too easy to surrender to anger's strength. But how do we apply Seneca's wisdom to prevent this? How can we, as modern individuals living in an often stress-filled and contentious world, better manage our anger? Firstly, Seneca urges us to recognize the self-destructive nature of anger. This understanding is the first step in managing our anger effectively. By acknowledging that anger often harms us more than the ones we are angry at, we can begin to distance ourselves from this powerful emotion, viewing it more objectively. Secondly, we need to cultivate self-awareness. We should strive to identify the triggers that provoke our anger and recognize the physical and mental signs that we're becoming angry. This self-awareness can serve as an early warning system, allowing us to take proactive measures before our anger escalates. Next, once we've identified that we're becoming angry, Seneca's teachings guide us to employ rational thought. The Stoics were firm believers in the power of reason and logic. In moments of anger, we should pause and reflect, using reason to dispel the cloud of rage. Ask yourself, will my anger resolve the situation? Is my reaction proportional to the situation? What would be a more productive response? Additionally, practicing mindfulness and relaxation techniques can also help manage anger. Techniques like deep breathing, progressive muscle relaxation, or even taking a walk can help calm the mind and body, providing a much-needed break from a heated situation. Lastly, adopting a Stoic perspective, we should remind ourselves that we can't control others' actions, only our responses. If someone's actions provoke us, we can choose not to react with anger, but to respond with understanding or, if necessary, firm assertiveness. Managing anger isn't about suppressing our feelings, it's about addressing them in a healthier and more productive way. By applying Seneca's wisdom, we can break free from the destructive cycle of anger, cultivating instead peace of mind and emotional resilience. In essence, Seneca encourages us to see anger for what it truly is, a strong, self-defeating emotion, and arms us with the tools to combat it. It's a lesson in reclaiming our power from anger and channeling it into more constructive avenues. So let us heed his wise words and strive not just to manage our anger, but to rise above it, transforming it into understanding, patience, and ultimately, tranquility. A core tenet of Stoicism and central to Seneca's teachings is the notion that virtue is nothing else than right reason. This perspective illuminates virtue as the pinnacle of human ethics and morality, and it reveals Stoicism's profound commitment to moral integrity. But what exactly does Seneca mean when he speaks of virtue and right reason? And how can we integrate these principles? Seneca, like other Stoic philosophers, saw virtue as the highest good, superior to wealth, reputation, pleasure, or even life itself. In his view, the virtuous person lives according to reason and wisdom, treating others with fairness, showing courage in the face of adversity, exercising self-control in the presence of temptation, and displaying wisdom in all aspects of life. So how does one translate the theoretical concept of right reason into daily practice? Firstly, we can cultivate virtue by embracing wisdom and reason as guiding principles in our life. This means making decisions that are not only beneficial to us but also ethical and just. It involves constantly seeking knowledge and understanding, being open to different perspectives, and applying critical thinking to navigate life's complexities. Secondly, Seneca encourages us to reflect on our actions and attitudes. Are they in line with the virtues we aspire to cultivate? Do we exhibit integrity even when no one is watching? Do we choose the right and just path, even when the wrong one might be more convenient or rewarding? Regular self-reflection can help us align our actions with our moral compass, ensuring that we are living in accordance with virtue. Furthermore, cultivating virtue involves practicing empathy and compassion. It requires us to recognize the inherent worth of every individual and to treat others with kindness and respect. It means standing up against injustice, lending a helping hand to those in need, and striving to contribute positively to our communities. Lastly, to live according to right reason, we need to nurture a sense of resilience and equanimity. Life will inevitably throw challenges our way, but a virtuous person faces these challenges with strength and calm, not allowing external circumstances to compromise their moral values. By integrating these principles into our daily lives, we can bring Seneca's teachings to life. We can live in accordance with virtue and right reason, fostering a sense of fulfillment and peace that extends beyond transient pleasures or external achievements. Seneca's emphasis on virtue serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of moral integrity. In a world often driven by materialistic pursuits, his teachings inspire us to prioritize virtue, to strive for moral excellence, and to live in harmony with our highest values. As we navigate the complexities of modern life, let Seneca's wisdom guide us towards a life of virtue, a life guided by right reason, and a life that, in its very essence, embodies the highest good. Seneca, though himself a wealthy man, was known for his untraditional views on wealth and happiness. Contrary to the common notion that equates wealth with happiness, Seneca saw virtue and wisdom as the true sources of happiness. He profoundly said, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." This statement, rich in meaning, invites us to rethink our perception of wealth, happiness, and the role adversity plays in our lives. At first glance, this quote might seem counterintuitive. After all, don't we all aspire to lead lives free from hardship and adversity? Yet, Seneca insists that a life untouched by adversity leaves us unhappy and unfulfilled. So what does he mean? Seneca's philosophy highlights that adversity is a catalyst for growth and self-realization. Without adversity, we are not granted the opportunity to test our resilience, to discover our strengths, and to realize our potential. In essence, it is through overcoming challenges that we truly come to understand ourselves and our capabilities. This self-realization, this growth born out of struggle, is where true happiness lies. The pursuit of wealth, on the other hand, often leads us away from this path of self-realization. Wealth can provide comfort and security, but it can also lead to complacency, indulgence, and a sense of entitlement. When we're cushioned by wealth, we might miss the opportunity to test our mettle, to learn, grow, and prove our worth. How can we apply Seneca's teachings to redefine our concepts of wealth and happiness in our modern context? Firstly, Seneca's wisdom encourages us to embrace adversity rather than avoid it. When we face a challenge, instead of seeing it as an obstacle, we can view it as an opportunity to grow and learn. It's about adopting a resilient mindset, a perspective that sees adversity as a stepping stone towards self-improvement. Secondly, we should strive to balance our pursuit of wealth with the cultivation of virtue and wisdom. It's not about rejecting wealth outright, but about ensuring that our quest for material success doesn't overshadow our moral and personal growth. Thirdly, Seneca reminds us that true wealth isn't just about accumulating material possessions. It's about cultivating a rich inner life filled with virtue, wisdom, resilience, and self-realization. In other words, the wealthiest person is not necessarily the one with the most possessions, but the one who has developed a strong character and found peace within themselves. Lastly, Seneca's teachings guide us towards a more nuanced understanding of happiness. Happiness isn't merely the absence of adversity. It's about finding fulfillment and growth amidst life's challenges. It's about embracing life in all its ups and downs and finding joy in the journey of self-discovery. Seneca's perspective on wealth and happiness offers us a much-needed alternative to the materialistic worldview prevalent in our society. It encourages us to seek out the true riches of life: wisdom, virtue, resilience, and self-realization. Let us heed Seneca's wisdom and strive for a life that balances material wealth with inner richness, a life that finds happiness not in the absence of adversity, but in the ability to navigate it with grace, strength, and wisdom. One of the core principles of Stoicism is living in harmony with nature, an idea powerfully encapsulated by Seneca's words. God is near you, He is with you, He is within you. To fully understand the depth of this statement, we need to delve into Stoic philosophy's interpretation of God and nature. In Stoicism, God is often synonymous with nature or the universe, the rational principle that governs the world. Thus, Seneca's quote suggests that we carry within us a spark of the divine, the universal reason, or the logos. Therefore, living in harmony with nature means aligning ourselves with this inherent rationality and the world's natural laws. We must first recognize the inherent rationality within us. As part of nature, we possess the capability of reason, a feature that distinguishes humans. This rationality allows us to discern, understand, and conform to the natural order of things. Therefore, living in harmony with nature involves using our reason to make thoughtful decisions, to differentiate between right and wrong, and to navigate life's challenges. Furthermore, Seneca's quote also prompts us to accept the natural order of the universe. Just like nature has its cycles of birth, growth, decay, and death, so do our lives embody these phases. By understanding and accepting this, we learn to navigate the ebb and flow of life, finding peace in the impermanence of things and appreciating the present moment. In addition, living in harmony with nature means recognizing our interconnectedness with others and the world at large. Just as the elements in nature coexist in a delicate balance, we are part of a broader community of fellow humans, other creatures, and the environment. Therefore, living in accordance with nature requires fostering healthy relationships, contributing positively to our communities, and treating our environment with respect. Lastly, Seneca's words remind us of the divine presence within us, the essence of our true nature. By aligning our actions with our rational nature and universal principles, we honor this inner divinity, leading a life of integrity, virtue, and inner peace. In essence, Seneca's teachings on living in harmony with nature offer a blueprint for a fulfilling life. It encourages us to embrace our rationality, to accept life's natural rhythms, and to acknowledge our interconnectedness with the universe. As we strive to live in accordance with these principles, we draw closer to our truest selves, leading lives of greater wisdom, virtue, and inner harmony. In his writings, Seneca often spoke about the critical role of self-discipline in leading a good life. This perspective is beautifully encapsulated in his quote, It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor. Firstly, it's essential to understand what Seneca means by craving more. This craving reflects unchecked desires and appetites, the insatiable longing for more, be it more wealth, more status, or more pleasure. According to Seneca, this constant yearning renders us poor, regardless of how much we possess. It's a poverty of contentment, a lack of self-discipline that leaves us perpetually dissatisfied, always chasing after the next source of gratification. Mastering self-discipline, therefore, is about learning to control these cravings. It's about cultivating a sense of contentment, learning to value what we have, and managing our desires in a way that aligns with virtue and reason. The first step is to recognize and acknowledge our desires. This involves developing a sense of self-awareness and introspection, understanding our motivations, and recognizing when we are being driven by unchecked cravings. Once we've identified these desires, the next step is to evaluate them. Are they reasonable? Do they align with our values and our understanding of what is truly important in life? Or are they merely feeding into a never-ending cycle of wanting more? This evaluation process should not be seen as a one-time activity, but rather a continual practice. It's about consistently reflecting on our desires, assessing their validity, and adjusting our actions accordingly. It's a process of constant self-examination and self-improvement. The final step is to take active measures to manage these desires. This could involve setting boundaries for ourselves, establishing healthy habits, and seeking support when necessary. It's about actively working towards leading a life that is not dominated by cravings, but guided by reason and virtue. Seneca's teachings on self-discipline serve as a powerful reminder that true wealth lies not in possessing more, but in desiring less. It's about finding contentment in what we have and mastering our desires through self-discipline. In the end, the richest person is not the one who has the most, but the one who needs the least. As we navigate through the complexities of modern life, may Seneca's wisdom guide us towards mastering self-discipline, managing our desires, and finding true wealth in contentment and virtue. The path may be challenging, but the rewards are immeasurable. Peace of mind, self-respect, and the freedom that comes from no longer being a slave to our desires. Seneca, like many other Stoic philosophers, frequently explored the subject of death, imbuing it with a profound sense of acceptance and tranquility. His views were summarized powerfully in his statement, "Death is the release from all pain and complete relaxation." But what does this Stoic perspective on death entail, and how can it impact our understanding of life and mortality? To comprehend Seneca's perspective, we must first understand the Stoic concept of amor fati, love of one's fate. Stoics encourage us to accept and embrace every aspect of life, including its end. They teach that death, like birth, is a natural part of life, something to be acknowledged rather than feared. His quote, therefore, is a declaration of acceptance. It paints death not as a terrifying end, but as a release, a final relaxation from the trials and tribulations of life. This perspective was not born out of pessimism or a dismissive attitude towards life. Rather, it comes from a deep understanding that all aspects of life, including suffering and pain, are temporary, and death is a natural conclusion to these experiences. Such a perspective on death impacts how we perceive and live our lives. It invites us to live each day fully aware of our mortality, which in turn can make our lives more meaningful and focused. When we fully understand that our time is limited, we begin to appreciate the present moment more deeply and strive to spend our time on what truly matters. Seneca's perspective encourages us to live without the fear of death. It argues that death is not a catastrophe but a natural, inevitable phenomenon. By accepting death, we can relieve ourselves of this fear and live more freely and boldly. It makes us realize that every moment we have is a gift and should be spent wisely. In practical terms, his teachings on death advise us to confront our mortality regularly. Regular reflections on death can make us more resilient in the face of life's challenges, make us appreciate our lives more, and help us prioritize what is genuinely important. It's about developing a mentality that sees death not as an end, but as an integral part of our existence. Seneca's views on death challenge the common narrative that portrays death as the ultimate enemy. Instead, it invites us to see death as a natural part of life's journey, a final release from life's challenges, and a return to the tranquility that existed before birth. So let us approach life with an acceptance of death, not with fear, but with understanding, not with avoidance, but with awareness. For in doing so, we can free ourselves from the fear of death and live life more fully, more courageously, and more meaningfully. Seneca's words offer comfort and a perspective shift, reminding us that death, the final act of our lives, can be faced with the same calm acceptance and understanding with which we face life itself. Among Seneca's timeless wisdom, his guidance on managing fear and anxiety strikes a particular chord, especially in our modern world fraught with uncertainties. His words, "There are more things, Lucilius, likely to frighten us than there are to crush us. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality," encapsulates a powerful insight on human nature and our tendency to be tormented more by our own fears and anxieties than by actual events. To delve into this lesson, we need first to acknowledge that fear and anxiety primarily reside in our minds, often disconnected from our current reality. Our worries are usually about potential future events or regret over past actions, neither of which we can change in the present. Seneca teaches us that it's this projection into the future or the past that feeds our anxieties and fears. Next, Seneca advises us to differentiate between what's in our control and what's not. This is a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy. By recognizing that many things are outside our control, including most of the future events we worry about, we can begin to let go of the anxiety surrounding them. We can channel our energy into areas where we can make a difference, which are our thoughts, behaviors, and actions in the present. A powerful technique here is practicing mindfulness and present moment awareness. By being fully present, we root ourselves in reality, reducing the tendency to project our fears into an imagined future or dwell on past regrets. Mindfulness allows us to see things as they are, not as we fear they might be. Additionally, rational thought is a potent tool against fear and anxiety. Seneca and the Stoics emphasize that we should use reason to challenge our fears. Are they rational? Are they based on reality or just a product of our imagination? By questioning our fears and anxieties, we can often realize that they are based on unlikely scenarios or exaggerated outcomes. Lastly, practicing acceptance is key. Acceptance in this context means acknowledging our feelings of fear or anxiety without judgment, and then allowing them to exist without letting them control our actions and decisions. It's about understanding that these feelings are normal human responses, but also recognizing that they don't define us or our reality. In essence, Seneca's guidance invites us to view our fears and anxieties with a rational and present-focused mindset. He encourages us to see that our anxieties often come from dwelling in the future or the past, and that the power to overcome them lies in the here and now. As we navigate our way through life, let Seneca's words serve as a reminder. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Equipped with this wisdom, let's strive to stay present, think rationally, and accept without judgment. for these are our most reliable tools in overcoming fear and anxiety. The art of travel as a remedy for the soul, as Seneca so eloquently puts it in his quote, "We must go for walks out of doors, so that the mind can be strengthened and invigorated by a clear sky and plenty of fresh air," may sound like a modern-day self-help suggestion. Still, in truth, it's an idea deeply rooted in ancient Stoic philosophy. But what did Seneca mean by this, and how can we incorporate this into our lives? At its core, Seneca's call to go out of doors and for walks is a call to break away from our routine, our familiar environment, and to expose ourselves to new experiences, new environments, and new perspectives. For Seneca, travel isn't about luxury or escapism. It's about personal growth, self-reflection, and mental revitalization. It's essential to understand that Seneca was not merely advocating physical travel. It is not just about the journey on foot or by other means from one geographical location to another. Instead, it's about the inward journey we undertake when we step out of our comfort zone. It's about the insights and clarity we gain when we provide our minds with a change of scenery and a chance to break free from the daily grind. Applying this lesson practically, we can seek to regularly change our environment, whether it be taking a walk in a park, a hike through the wilderness, or a trip to a new city or country. These actions give us the clear sky and fresh air that Seneca speaks about, allowing our mind to stretch, rejuvenate, and gain new perspectives. However, it's not just about physical relocation. It's also about being fully present and engaged during these travels. By doing so, we enable ourselves to absorb the environment, soak in the experiences, and allow them to shape our thoughts and understanding. In addition, travel in this context also invites introspection. As we encounter new people, cultures, or environments, we also encounter different aspects of ourselves that might remain hidden in our day-to-day routine. Such introspection can lead to greater self-awareness and a deeper understanding of our values and beliefs. Moreover, in our fast-paced world, our minds are often cluttered with information and distractions. By stepping into a different environment, we can break away from these distractions, offering our minds a much-needed rest and the space to think more clearly and creatively. Seneca's guidance on travel is a reminder of the need for mental and physical breaks from our routine life. It emphasizes that these breaks, these travels, provide a revitalizing effect on our soul and mind. It's a call to venture outside, not just to experience the world around us, but to also embark on an inward journey of self-discovery, growth, and clarity. So let's heed his advice and seek the clear sky and fresh air. Let's travel, not just as a means of transport, but as a remedy for the soul, a path to self-discovery, and a gateway to a stronger and invigorated mind. In traversing the intellectual landscape of Seneca's Letters from a Stoic, we've unearthed profound wisdom from one of the most influential Stoic philosophers. We've taken a deep dive into 11 pivotal lessons from his timeless collection of letters, each one opening a unique window to enrich our understanding of life, relationships, virtue, and our very own minds. The lessons we've explored are not only relevant, but immensely practical, touching on areas of life that we all grapple with daily. We started our journey navigating through life's hardships, understanding that adversity is not a cruel impediment, but a test of our mettle, a tool for self-discovery, and a catalyst for personal growth. We delved into the ephemeral nature of time, absorbing Seneca's urgent call to embrace the present, a lesson that urges us to value the now, the moment that is in our hands and fully under our control. We then explored the intricate facets of friendships and relationships, discovering that the crux of a true bond is understanding and being understood. We examined Seneca's Guide to Peace of Mind, his teachings on anger management, emphasizing the stupefying effect of anger and the importance of maintaining control over our emotional responses. We unpack the cornerstone of Stoicism, virtue as the sole good, a concept that underpins Seneca's ethics and indeed the ethics of all Stoics. We probe Seneca's perspectives on wealth and happiness, understanding that adversity is a necessary companion on the journey to personal growth. We moved on to the concept of living in accordance with nature, a cornerstone of Stoic thought that speaks about harmony, acceptance, and understanding the universal flow of life. We delved into the importance of self-discipline and control over desires, grounding ourselves in the wisdom that craving for more is the real poverty. We analyzed Seneca's perspective on death, a topic often shrouded in fear and uncertainty, and found a sense of peace and acceptance in his teachings. We took a critical look at fear and anxiety, dissecting them with the scalpel of rational thought and present moment awareness. Lastly, we allowed ourselves to wander with Seneca's thoughts on travel, understanding that travel, in essence, is a journey of the soul, a journey that invigorates the mind and provides fresh perspectives. These lessons, rooted in the depth of Stoicism, provide a compass to navigate the complexities of life. But these insights and this knowledge will only bear fruit when we incorporate them into our daily lives. Reading and understanding is merely the first step. The real journey begins when we live these lessons, when we let them guide our actions, our decisions, and our perspectives. So I invite you to not just listen to these lessons, but to embrace them, to make them a part of your life. Allow Seneca's wisdom to illuminate your path and remember his words in moments of joy and adversity. Let's strive to apply the essence of Stoicism in our everyday lives, cultivating virtue, accepting what is beyond our control, and navigating life's ups and downs with resilience and tranquility. The wisdom from Letters from a Stoic is not a prescription, but a guide, an invitation to look at life through the lens of Stoicism, enabling us to lead lives of purpose, serenity, and profound understanding. Each day provides us with an opportunity to apply these lessons, and it's through these small daily actions that we truly honor Seneca's legacy and enrich our own lives in the process.